it live. Little John, we're gonna do it live.
Okay. All right, we're good. We're live. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream where we do it live. Oh boy, do I have a story for you today. Okay. Let's see. I got to tell this story in a certain way so I don't piss people off. Let me think. So, what did I do this week? Oh, right. Well, first, if you want to hear the details of my colonoscopy horror, I did that on a members only deal. It didn't get too graphic, but oh boy. Hey, shut up. Hey, how about a big cup of shut the hell up, Joe? So that was one thing I did this week. Kind of killed my whole week because you got to do the prep, and that takes all day. And then you have to do the actual event, and that's kind of kills your whole day. And then you kind of got to recover. So, but I did this event. I'm not going to say when or where. Kite is here. Hey, good evening to you, Kite. Good evening. And for some reason, they wanted me to set up the night before, which is fine, but it was a bit far, and so I did it. The next day I get there, and the first thing that happens is I had to move my car, which annoyed me for reasons I won't go into. But the most annoying thing about the show, and I'm not saying when this show was, it was a while ago. Let me say it was 6 months ago. I had a crazy amount of odd ducks, let's say, come to my table. Now, sometimes that happens, but at this particular show, I had Groovy Graveyard is here. Hey, good to see you, Groovy Graveyard. Groovy Graveyard, of course, is in Asbury Park, New Jersey, so make sure you visit if you're in the area. Anyhow, one of the other vendors at this event was a couple, and they were so freaking loud. They were so loud, and it was so early in the morning, and they were arguing, and I swear to you, this conversation went on in my head. Should I tell this woman to shut the F up? Should I tell her to shut the F up? Because I really wanted to tell her to shut the F up because she was that obnoxious. But through sheer force of will, I stopped myself from doing that because I knew that would be bad. I knew that would cause a huge argument that, yeah. So, but man, I really was thinking about it. I was this close to just saying, shut the F up. Shut the F up. It's early in the morning and you're arguing over nothing. Shut the F up. But I didn't. I stopped myself and I went on with my day. And I had an okay day. Anyhow, Saturday I did a flea market in Northfield, completely unrelated to my story. And that was fine. That was fine. It was interesting. It was different because it was in a school and I had a weird shaped table, but it was fine. Next week I'm doing this 3-day event for Black Friday, which I'm very excited about because last year I couldn't get a good Black Friday deal. Well, this one I'm doing all weekend. Kite, braver than I. Oh man, I wanted to tell her off so bad because she was so loud. But I held it together, Joan. Back in the day, oh yeah, I'd have told her off. I'd have just flipped the F out. Ardent, shut the F up is something more people need to hear. I mean, not me. I just got here. Yeah. Yes. Hello all, says Ardent. But yeah, it was that was a crazy 6 months ago with that loud woman. But the flea market in Northfield was A-okay. And the Triple Oaks event on Black Friday, though, I'm very excited about. So hopefully that'll be a good event. And Kite says, welcome in, Ardent. And as always, I'm selling the Pineys, books 1 through 16. I think I've been selling a lot of more of 16 online, which is cool. But you know, like When 15 came out, I got a little worried. Like I wasn't moving enough copies. And then suddenly I sold out of 15, which was weird. And so now I'm out of 15. I actually went to 2 shows without 15. Groovy Graveyard says, I admire your self-restraint. Thank you, Groovy Graveyard. Anyhow, for those of you new to the show, what we do here is we complain about movies. And first, we start with the box office. Now, the box office for the last 2 weeks has been terrible. Just terrible. It was 67 million 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. 71 million last week. And now we're in this week. And let me tell you something, it's a lot better, but it's all thanks to 2 movies. 2 movies. It's double what it was last week and more. Ardent says, hey, Groovy. When did I do the Groovy Graveyard signing? Oh, that was a week ago. That was last Sunday. And that was a fun time. It's a very hipster town, Asbury Park now. So it's a very cool mall. Lots of cool stores in that mall. Yeah. So I'm very shocked, very surprised, and I said this in the comments, that Wicked not only did 100 million, but it did over 100 million. It did 114 million. Wow. I just didn't think there were that many theater majors in the United States, but apparently I was wrong. Indie Phantom, are you not yet? Are you not entertained? I screwed that up. Are you not entertained? I am entertained, Indie Phantom. I am. But I would not be entertained by Wicked, the movie. It just sounds awful to me. A musical set in The Wizard of Oz, starring Ariana Grande. Well, as always, the international box office seems to have all the taste. They didn't like it nearly as much as apparently people in the United States did. So it's done 164 million, but 114 million of that was here. Ardent by Glicht? No. Indie Phantom. I almost went to Gladiator 2 with a friend on Saturday, but decided I could make better use of my day. I think you made the right choice. Wicked looks like a movie made in hell. Now, that's the way I've heard it described by several people online, that it is a pink and green hell. But I think those people are just normal people who don't like Broadway musicals. So I guess everybody who loves Broadway musicals went to this thing on opening weekend, which is why it did so well. But see, I'm shocked because I would think those people would prefer to see this live, you know? Because to me, there's a world of difference between the movie, the movie and the musical. Seeing the musical performed live, even if you don't like it, you kind of have to respect it because you're seeing people playing instruments and singing and stuff. Although, that was not true of that rock and roll play. What the hell was that? Oh, God. They made the movie with Tom Cruise. Gosh, I can't think of the name of it. God, that was terrible. Ardent, read the book. It's not bad. Really? It's a book? Yeah, go figure. Kite, a new trailer for Snow White dropped too. And eesh. Yeah, I mean, that's another... I guess you consider that a musical too, but I just wouldn't go see it because of Rachel Zegler. I mean, how many terrible movies are you going to put this woman in before you finally go, yeah, maybe she's not a movie star? Huh. Perp Minded. Welcome to the stream, Perp Minded. I enjoyed Wicked as a non-Broadway fan. I thought the story was really compelling. Really? No, maybe it's good. Ardent, Rock of Ages. Yes, that's it. God, I hate that. That was awful. Rock of Ages is a Broadway show, but they use 80s music, like 80s rock music, but they sing it like they're on Broadway. We're not gonna take it. Yes. Like, it's awful. It's awful. And then one of the things they passed out to the crowd, because I actually went to go see this live, but me and my date walked out on it. I very rarely walk out of movies or anything. I walked out of Rock of Ages. They passed out, instead of lighters, they passed out these plastic things that were supposed to resemble lighters like we had back in the 80s, like Bic lighters, you know, when they would do this. Because I guess they were afraid people would light fires by accident or on purpose if they gave them actual Bic lighters. Oh, it was so stupid. Indie Phantom. So many musicals have bombed recently, like The Color Purple and West Side Story. Well, West Side Story, first off, is very dated, and they changed that. You know, they tried to make it woke. They added like a non-binary character or something. And that was Rachel Zegler. She starred in that. And I can understand why they cast her, because apparently she can sing, although I wouldn't know, because I wouldn't even watch her. But The Color Purple is so bizarre, too, because I think it started as a book, and then they turned it into a movie, and then they turned it into a Broadway play based on the movie, and then they turned it back into a movie based on the Broadway play that was based on a movie based on a book. I mean, where is the comic book? Where's the video game, The Color Purple? You missed those mediums. Ardent, I think it was a play, then a book, then a movie. Perp-minded. Newsies is my favorite musical. Well, you like musicals, PM. I mean, I'm not knocking you. I'm not a musical guy. I like, the only one I liked was the Book of Mormons because the South Park guys wrote it, and it's incredibly vulgar. LeMay is here. Hi. Hello, LeMay. Ardent says hi to Perp. Jay-Z is here. Hi, hi, hi. Indie Phantom. Wicked is actually woke before woke. The witch was not bad. It was the patriarchy who turned her green. Really? Is that the story? Ardent. The only musical I've ever enjoyed was Across the Universe, the Beatles-based one. Oh, that sounds like something I might tolerate, because I do like Beatles songs, but it was done by a bunch of people who weren't the Beatles. I don't know. Kite. They should hire you, Tony. You made We're Not Gonna Take It sound funky. LOL. Thank you, Kite. You're too kind. Ardent. If you give kids Bic lighters, they will burn themselves out of dumbassery. Well, what kid would go to a Broadway show? Indie Phantom. Rock of Ages, the only film where Alec Baldwin and Russell Brand have a gay romance. They do? See, I didn't sit through enough of Rock of Ages to get to that point. So I don't even remember that. I just remember sitting through the first song and going, what the F is this? To the person I was with. And then we were halfway through the second song, and I'm just looking at her like, do you want to sit through this? And she was just like, no. Perp-minded. Wonka was dope. That's a musical too, right? I guess I would like Willy Wonka. I mean, I like the original Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder. I don't know if I would like Tim Chalamet Willy Wonka. Is he a cannibal in that one too? Ardent. Hey, LeMay, JEC. JEC. Yes, they can't have open flames in a theater. Indie Phantom. Mean Girls was another musical bomb. And Dear Evan Hansen. Oh, that one looked really bad. Yeah, I didn't quite get why they turned Mean Girls into a musical. JC, Rocky Horror is my favorite musical. I like that, but like, the reason I think people like that is ironic, right? Because it's so terrible, but it's kind of good, and some of the songs are good. Kite, keep Whoopi Goldberg out of my Vidya games. LOL. Ardent, haven't seen the Book of Mormon. Oh, it's good. It's good. Because the South Park guys wrote it. So there's all kinds of funny South Park jokes in it. Indie Phantom. Newsies is pretty good. Early Christian Bale. Ooh. What's the line? This is the newsy Gotham needs. Or Gotham wants. Or Gotham deserves. LeMay. Wicked Witch in the book was one-eyed old woman who enslaved people and tried to murder a child, then enslaved the kid when she could not kill her, thanks to the good witch. Why humanize her? That's the story? Sounds pretty crazy. one-eyed old woman who enslaved people tried to murder a child, then enslaved the kid when she could not kill her thanks to the good witch. Why humanize her? I don't know. Indie Phantom, across the universe, woke but okay. Lesbian Asian chick was hot. Well, that sounds like a plus. Indie Phantom, Wonka sucked. The remake. JEC, the songs in Rocky Horror are all great. Most of them. I like most of them. I like the Time Warp. That's a good one. Ardent. Rocky Horror Picture Show has a lot of crowd interaction, apparently. Something to do with toast. Yes, if you have all the props. You would need the poster. They used to put out a poster with most of the heckling and the prop bits you would need in Rocky Horror. For those of you who don't know, if you go to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show, people will be heckling it, and they developed a series of responses to various lines in the movie. And, you know, you kind of have to know the movie a little bit to understand the jokes, but as you're watching it, there are always people in the audience who have seen it like 50 times, and they're like throwing out all the heckles and sort of things. And then so one of the bits is Tim Curry, who plays Dr. Frankenfurter, says, "A toast!" And at that point in the audience, everybody who has toast is supposed to throw it into the audience or throw it at the screen. And so you're in a theater, and various things like that will happen during the course of the movie. I don't know if they do it to the live show now. They probably do. Indie Phantom. Wicked opens the door for more crappy musical. Well, I guess. I mean, they're making money. Yeah. Yeah, I would say with the way the box office has been of late, I mean, what other choice do they have at this point? I mean, last week, this is more than the entire box office last weekend. Probably the entire week if you added it up. So, yeah, I would expect more musicals. Why this is popular? I don't know. I guess because it was still popular enough on Broadway that people decided to go see it, and they did advertise the hell out of it. I don't know. Looks like the most boring, stupid thing you could possibly promote to me, but I just don't get people singing their dialogue. I don't want that. Say the dialogue. Don't sing it. Don't sing it at all. So, LeMay, the original Wizard of Oz was a fun read. The Tin Man beheaded a pack of wolves, and the Scarecrow broke the neck of a flock of crows sent by the Wicked Witch of the West. Damn. I'm getting fun text. Indie Phantom. Damn theater kids. Yeah. I guess they're just a way more theater people than I thought in the United States. Either that or they're lying about their box office. I mean, it's possible. It is very possible. Next up is Gladiator. This is around what they said it would do. Initially, they said 60 to 80 million. I mean, 55 is pretty close. They revised it down at the last minute. This sounds about right, although, quite frankly, I thought it would do better. Now, see, overseas, it did a hell of a lot better. It did 165 million overseas. So it's doing okay. I mean, it's at 200 million. And it cost... there's no cost here. So that's probably money. I don't think it cost more than, I'm going to say 150 million. But, I mean, at the rate it's going overseas, I mean, a big tentpole movie like this just does well because overseas, you know, they just don't have the money to do big budget movies overseas. I wanted to see if Wicked's production budget. Wicked's production budget is 145 million, and it's already at 164. So it's heading towards money. JC, Gladiator 2 sounds like a woke remake of the first. It just sounds like a pale imitation of the first movie, right? I mean, like, I don't care. You know? I don't. Why they cast Denzel Washington is beyond me. Like, you probably could have cast him because the Romans did bring people from around the world to Rome. It's possible they, and I think it's factually true that they did bring some people from Africa to Rome to specifically fight in the arena. So you could have a character who was an ex-gladiator, who was African American, who had, made something of himself in Roman society. But they chose to make Denzel Washington a specific guy in history who was a Roman, who was not black. So it's just like, well, if you're going to do fiction, I mean, just do fiction then, I get, and it's strange coming from me, a guy who's based some of his stories based on historical events, but, there's a way to do that kind of makes sense, Groovy Graveyard. Gladiator 2 opened last weekend in Europe. Yeah, I think that was a way to get the box office up and to get people here to go see it. Because after what happened, and I don't know if you guys followed this, they initially released a trailer with Denzel Washington figuring prominently in the trailer, and they played hip-hop music underneath. And people were like, what the hell, man? Just because there's a black guy in it and it takes place in ancient Rome, you're playing hip-hop music? It's weird. And it was a weird trailer. And then they pulled it and recut it they usually cut like 10 of these things now. And then they reposted another without the hip-hop music. So, probably a smart thing to do. It just came off as weird. I'm not sure why they did that initially. Did they think they were going to get, I don't know, guys who are into hip-hop to go, oh, yeah, dog, let's get the homies and go see Gladiator 2. Like, either you were going to go to the movies or not. Like, I don't think the hip-hop soundtrack was going to be the make or break difference in a Gladiator movie. But again, you could have just done, I don't know, a totally fictional movie that took place in ancient Rome. Like, I got a pitch for a Predator comic that takes place in ancient Rome, and I think it would be badass. Indie Phantom. Channels reporting Gladiator 2 costs like $310 million. Holy crap. Well, that's going to be a bit of a slog. It's at 221 now. Well, you can make your budget probably next weekend if word of mouth holds, right? You could do, I think they could do another 100 million worldwide, and that would basically bring you to the production budget. After that, though, I mean, they did advertise that a lot. I don't think it's any way possible. I mean, they say the advertising budget is equal to the production budget. I think when you get into a movie that costs $300 million, if that's even true, there's no way they could spend $300 million on the advertising. But maybe. Who knows? LeMay, yes. Black people were exotic in the Roman Empire. JC, the wife of Gladiator 2, he needs to revenge dies fighting in the battle alongside the men in the opening action scene, apparently. Okay. Indie Phantom. Son, do you like movies about gladiators? I remember that line. Ardent. LOL. If you're going to do fiction, add dragons and lightsabers. Yeah. Add dragons, definitely. I think dragons would work in ancient Rome. I don't know about lightsabers. Indie Phantom. There was a kiss with Denzel Washington that got cut, I think you mean. Yes, I heard that too. Then Ridley Scott came out and said it's not true. So I'm not sure who's lying. I thought it was weird that Denzel Washington came out, because you think he'd want to just be like, oh, you're cutting that gay kiss from the movie? Okay. Like, I'm surprised he agreed to do it, quite frankly. It seems to cut against his image, but maybe he didn't care. I mean, the Romans were a little more likely to play for both teams, let's say. And but it's kind of weird he would even agree to do it, and that they cut it from the movie. I mean, it was probably unnecessary and gratuitous, I'm guessing. But who knows? So Ridley, according to Ridley Scott, it's not even true. Like, apparently this does not exist. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was a spontaneous moment on set that Denzel Washington did and wasn't in the script. Carter Chain is here. Spurg here. It's true, Africans were in Rome, but not so many black sub-Saharan Africans. The color of Africans back then would surprise you. Possibly, yeah. No, but look, the Romans took from everywhere, but, I mean, you could make it work in a movie. If you were saying, you know, this person is an unusual person within the empire, and you put him in somewhere related to the gladiatorial ring, because that would be a reason for him to even be there. But they made him specifically a guy in history, which was just stupid, you know? Like, maybe you could have made him his sort of, you know, you could have put that guy in history, and then Denzel Washington could have been his, like, you know, men-at-arms. Like, the guy who ran his estate, let's say, and then did stuff, then made some plays in the Roman Empire. But you weren't going to get a guy like him to move forward in the Roman Empire. I don't think it ever could have happened. Indie Phantom. Alexander was one of the few Oliver Stone movies that I didn't like. So many versions, but I was never a big fan on Sword and Sandal. Chicks Are Hot in Rome series and Spartacus, though. JC. They had to shut down projection halfway through because the strikes last year doubled the budget. Oh, well, that sounds like an explanation. Indie Phantom. JEC, that explains the inflated budget. Ardent says, hi. Carter? So, I think Gladiator 2 probably has legs. Simply because, what else are you going to see? If you're a straight dude, I don't think you're going to see Wicked. Unless your girlfriend dragged you there. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of shocked Wicked did so well and exceeded expectations. I mean, over 100 million. Wow. These days, that's pretty damn good. So, you know, it's weird, though. They haven't done a Book of Mormon movie, and that musical was hot for a while. That was in theaters for over a year. Ardent, I hated the linguistic anachronisms in the Spartacus series, otherwise loved it. That's another issue. There's certain things, certain words and phrases and certain actions that if you put in a series that takes place in ancient times will be accurate but will be weird to the audience, and you're going to have to explain stuff. Sam Rogers. Hello, everyone. So, like, for instance, the thumbs up and thumbs down, I've been told that actually wasn't the case. It was thumbs out and thumb in, and I had heard that the thumb thing represented the sword, right? And if you went like this, you were saying, don't kill the dude. And if you were like this, you were saying, stab him through the heart. Ardent, low Sam. Man, we got a hot live stream tonight. So many people are here. Thank you for all coming out. Don't forget to vote me up. Give me a like. All right, let's get into movie number 3. Dropping from 1 is Red 1. This movie dropped by 59%, and it's in over 4,000 theaters. $13 million. So this is probably would just plummet and drop off the face of the earth if it wasn't for the fact everything else, just about everything else in the theater is incredibly weak. But it is Christmas, so maybe it'll hang on. I mean, Doesn't seem like it's going to make its insane budget of $200 million, though. So we're at 117 million worldwide, and it costs 200 million. Now, I don't think Amazon particularly cares, because they'll run this on their platform and it'll be part of their, service. So they got so much money, it kind of doesn't matter if their movies make money. I don't know if I would even see this movie unless it was free. It doesn't look like it's unwatchable, but it doesn't look great. Kind of sick of Dwayne Johnson, though. And I'm definitely sick of Chris Evans in any other role but Captain America. If you want to put him back as Captain America, I'll go see him, unless he's super freaking woke. But, yeah, Chris Evans in any other role, I'm just like, meh. Indie Phantom. It was a fun series, Arden. Think I did not see the last season, but bought them all when my Target closed in Canada. Kite. It's a party. Indie Phantom. I smashed a like. Thank you. Ardent. When I first heard of Red One, I thought it was a prequel to the Bruce Willis Red movies. No, it's like, Santa as a super efficient, operation that runs, I don't know, like a secret, like it's about the security of Santa having to go find Santa. I mean, it's another Missing Santa movie. Only it's done more kind of as an action movie and kind of like a Marvel movie. It doesn't sound very appealing to me. I think the problem with it doesn't sound like it has a good villain. There's no villain in the trailer. I think they show the snowmen. I'm not sure if they're a villain or not, though. Indie Phantom. The Red One is hitting Amazon before Christmas. They wanted a cachet of a theatrical F. Chris Evans in any film. Chris Evans. Yeah, he's gotten really annoying. Number 4, Bonhoeffer? Is that how you say that? Bonhoeffer, maybe. Pastor, Spy, Assassin from Angel Studios. This is a guy who... This is during the big war with the bad guys from Germany. And he's the guy who's famous for saying, I think... Isn't he the guy who said, when they came for the socialist, I said nothing? That whole quote? Isn't that the guy who said it? I think. Indie Phantom. Red One doesn't look good as Fat Man with Mel Gibson and Walter Goggins. Yes. Yes, Mel Gibson as Santa all day. JC. Terrible title for a Santa movie. Although you spelled it Sonata movie. Ardent. Evans was good in Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, as Johnny, reprising his role as Johnny Storm. Storbang is here. Hello, Storbang. I'd rather watch the Big Red One war movie starring Mark Hamill. I remember that movie. I didn't remember Mark Hamill being in it, though. I think that was back when he was still an actor and not a guy on Twitter annoying everybody. Although now he's off of Twitter. He moved to Blue Sky. He's one of the people who moved to Blue Sky. And then we'll be talking about that a little bit later, because that was a big story this week. Indie Phantom. Yeah, Ardent, I thought the same. Ardent, I love Fat Man. Hey, Storbang. Indie Phantom. Storbang, the Big Red One is great. Sam Fuller classic with Lee Marvin, too. Oh, yeah, I forgot Lee Marvin's in it. I forgot. Ardent, I think Big Red One was before New Hope. I think it's right after. Let's check it out. Big Red One. There it is. 1980. Yeah, it's after. So, Star Wars was 77. And then Empire Strikes Back. Wasn't that 80? Yeah. Same year as Empire Strikes Back. I'm not sure which came out first that year. Indie Phantom. More wokeness need to hit the blue skies, or more wokesters need to hit the blue skies. Yeah, I don't think it's they're already crumbling. They're already coming out of it, like, because it's so bad in Blue Sky. Like, I went over there and made an account because I thought I could, I don't know, capitalize on it. And some of my comic book colleagues immediately went over to there because they're pretty woke in the world of comics. And so I went over there, and I decided, you know what? I'll come over here and I'll just flat out advertise things. I will barely interact. And so far, I'm gaining followers, so I'm trying not to do any political stuff there. But so far, no one's challenged me or said anything. So far, it's okay for me, but I've heard all sorts of horror stories from other people. So, and then Rob Reiner had like a complete breakdown about it, apparently. Storebang, hello Ardent, hello everyone. Indie Phantom, I love the Ellen story. Good friggin' riddance. Yeah, we'll get to that as well. JEC, first they came for the homeless, and I did nothing because I had a home. Then they came for the illegals, and I did nothing because they took my job. Then they came for the communists, and I asked if they were hiring. That's not how the quote goes. Groovy Graveyard, they'll be back, same as Threads. Yeah, Threads. I know one guy who's still on Threads, and I guess he's hanging on by a thread, but I don't know why you would go there. I keep getting on Instagram, they keep trying to push you on the Threads, but it's not working for me. I hate Instagram. First off, I still can't really work it well. If you ever contact me through Instagram, expect a long wait because it's so confusing to me. I mean, that's when I really have a boomer moment, when I try to operate my Instagram and I'm like trying to figure out the difference between a chat and the private messaging and comments, and it all blends together for me. I hate it. I absolutely hate Instagram. Kite at Indie Phantom. Nah, that would be bad. It's already an echo chamber. If they want wokeness to stop, they need adversity. Indie Phantom, wait, there are comic creators? What the F is the world coming to? Yeah. Indie Phantom, Rob Reiner checked himself into a clinic. Will Wheaton needs to join. Ardent, Instagram has turned me into a boomer too. I haven't spent any time with it. It's so annoying. The interface makes no sense to me. Like, you always got to post a picture. Like, whenever I want to promote this in Instagram, I got to post one of the pictures, and it's never the right size, and it just annoys me. It's like, can't you just shrink down the picture like every other site, Instagram? Just shrink it down to your whatever borders there are and put black in the parts that, if I don't size it exactly correct. No. Just cut off the ends. That'll work. So stupid. Indie Phantom, Kite, I want them all on their own island. And I think they already spent too much time on an island. JEC, you should play the clip I sent you on Instagram. LOL. Oh, was that the old clip of me? JC sent me a clip this week from a TV show called The Anti-Gravity Room, which was on air back in the 90s. This was the early 90s. While I was still doing the Jersey Devil comic book. By that time, was it after? It must have been after the show, because I didn't really start doing the comic until after the show was over. But I used to do a show in Philadelphia called The Comic Book Show. And we started developing it in 92, and I think we went on the air in 92 into 93. In 94, we tried to save the show by making a bunch of changes that didn't really help anything. And then I think we changed the name slightly to, initially it was The Comic Book Show, and then we called it something else, like something comics. Anyhow, I was the host. I had a mullet, and I had a co-host, and we interviewed just about everybody in the world of comics. I interviewed Harlan Ellison famously, and he yelled at me while I was waiting patiently in line to interview him, because he had seen the show that morning before the comic book convention, and he hated it. But, you think I'm a curmudgeon. You should go back and look at some interviews with Harlan Ellison sometime. But the clip JEC sent me, I'm being interviewed by the dude who was the host of the Anti-Gravity Room, and we had to meet him in New York. And so you could see me before my hair was gray. But even back then, I was going gray, and I was dyeing it so that it's really dark. And then I was dressed as the character, one of the characters I was promoting at that time, called The Fix. I hadn't put out any Fix comics yet, but I was planning to. And then I was promoting issue 2 of the Jersey Devil, and we were standing in the middle of the street. For some reason, he thought that would be a good idea for the bit. And I was promoting the Jersey Devil comic, which didn't really help me being on the Anti-Gravity Room, because I think it was only available really in Canada. But we had a meeting with the people on Sci-Fi when we were doing the comic book show. And I can't say this for a fact, but the rumor is the Anti-Gravity show apparently stole some of our bits, I've been told. Like, they wanted to bring us in for the meeting so they could look at our show and sort of suss us out. We thought they were going to pick us up and maybe merge us with the Anti-Gravity Room. No, they never did. But then they made some changes to their show, which look, I'm told, eerily similar to some of the stuff we were doing, but who knows? I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I don't know anything. Don't send your lawyers. But yeah, you know what? I don't even know if I could find the clip, because again, it's on Instagram and I'm a boomer. Kite at Indie Phantom. Remember, they still control most of the media forms. We need the wokies nearby non-wokes to potentially turn more people back to less perpetually online think. Groovy Graveyard. I think Instagram is pretty good for store promotion. The post mirror to Facebook. That part of it I like. Groovy Graveyard. Harlan Ellison yelled at everyone. He certainly did. He certainly did. And I was trying to help him. I was like the biggest Harlan Ellison fan. And then he yelled at me, and I'm like... And then he yelled at me in the interview, too. It was like sticking my face into like one of those window fans. It's like, Jesus, Harlan, I love your books, and I want to promote you. And, you know, I think he kind of backed off at that point. Anyhow, where were we? Oh, yeah, we're at movie number 4, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin from Angel Studios. So this is a movie, takes place during the big war. Pretty good for Angel Studios because they're not spending gazillions of dollars making these things. Even though this is a period piece, they probably didn't spend a tremendous amount of money on this movie. Probably shot it in Europe at places that they wouldn't have to augment much to make look like they took place during the war. So $5 million, I mean, I would ballpark an Angel Studios movie. Maybe this is a $20 million film, maybe, if they spent a ton of money. But we'll see. I mean, the Angel Studios movies tend to have legs, but this is a historical pick, so it kind of doesn't, just because I think the people who want to see historical flicks, especially stuff about this era now, I mean, it made so many movies. I don't know. I think you kind of gotten all the box office you're going to get out of it. Here, Joan's got to go. Ugh. Shoot, too hot. Too hot sitting on my lap, Joan. JC, you should post that interview if you got it. I want to see Ellison yell at you. Well, he yelled at me while I was standing at line first. Then he kind of yelled at me in the interview. So JC posted the link. I'm a mod, so I can post the link now. LOL, the clip starts 9 minutes and 40 seconds into the show. All right. I guess I can play this. I don't think there's any music to it. So here, you can I won't play the whole thing, but I'll play a little bit of it. So here I am in the middle of Times Square. It was raining. Like, you would not believe what I went through to get this interview just so I could, like, promote Jersey Devil. But this is me back in the day. This is me back in the 90s. And he's talking about. I gotta break this up because there is some music underneath it. So he's talking about Tales from the Crypt, and then I guess at the end I get to mention. Okay, so he's talking about Azrael Ash. It's another comic that came out at the time. Ash was a character that was created by Joe Quesada and what's his name, Jimmy Palmiotti, and it was like the hot ticket for about 10 minutes, and they crossed it over with Azrael, I guess. All right, so I was just there.
After the 300-year-old story,
so there I am.
Who lives in the woods, thinks he's the Jersey Devil, and through him we retell a lot of the old ghost stories.
So there's some pages from my comic.
Ink by Don Smith, cover pencils by Tom Hodges, and colors by Kevin Daly. It's an amazing, amazing book. We're having a contest.
An amazing book, I said.
History of who the Jersey Devil is. The contest is in issue 3. We reveal in issue 4. We don't wait around at South Jersey Rebellion Productions. We give you more for your money, quality, more bang for your buck.
More bang for your buck. That's what I said. Buck with a B.
Get it from South Jersey Rebellion Productions. Okay, what about rating? When you get...
So you can see here my hair is very dark, and I was already starting to go gray, and by this time I was dyeing it. I'm 90% sure.
Oh, I give it a 5. It's wonderful. It's the best book I've ever read. Yep.
So that's me promoting the Jersey Devil. Issue 2. If you want to go see this, the link is in. Thank you, JEC, for posting that. All right. JEC, it's the review section of the show. Ardent, LOL, I half killed myself trying to find a copy of Azrael Ash. I'm a huge Azrael fanboy still. Indie Phantom, I like the comic picks. Yeah, they were pretty good about that. We did that in our show too, but I couldn't do, at the time, the technology was more primitive. So I couldn't do like the sweeping pans really across the comics because we couldn't figure out how to do it in an easy way in studio. We didn't have the sort of capture where you could just do it inside the computer yet. We were still using like cameras with tubes in them and stuff. It was because our production company hadn't quite upgraded the equipment yet. But then I dropped the camera, and then they got to upgrade it because of their insurance. Ardent, LOL, these round 90 shades. Everybody had the Aussie shades. I think these are the same glasses. These might be the same glasses. Did I have the same glasses from 90s, from 30 years ago? No, I probably bought them, but these are pretty round. Yeah, these aren't quite as round. No. Yeah, I wanted to get rounds, but they're hard to find. What year? God, that's got to be Jersey Devil #1 came out in 92. So that had to be like 93, late 93. So I guess I was still doing the show then. But by that time it was falling apart. Because we did do it all the way into 94. Yeah. Yeah, I think. Was it 94 into 95? No, I think it was 90. Yeah, it was definitely like 93, 94, somewhere in that area, I'm going to say. JC, I loved that show when I was a kid. I was binging them last week while I worked, and then you popped up, Tony. That's so funny. JC, like 96, 97? Could it have been that late? Because I think by that time, when did I come out with the Jersey Devil? Oh, maybe I did come out with it later than that. Maybe it was 94 and 95 or 96. LeMay, have you heard of Zenny Online Glasses Store? No. I have no idea. Yeah, so that was me back in the day and my dyed hair. And my outfit for a character called The Fix, which I really tried to promote, but man, that went nowhere, unfortunately. Anyhow, getting back into the movies. #5, dropping from 2, is Venom: The Last Dance. Now, Venom was like number 1 for like 3 weeks in a row. Then it drops to 2, and then it drops to 5. So it's amazing. It had an amazing run for a movie that basically had nothing up against it. So take a quick look. I mean, it's at almost $500 million. So don't tell Tom Hardy not to go yet. I would say. I think a Tom Hardy, Tom Holland movie would be great, but the rumor is it's never going to happen. That they're going to recast Venom to do the Tom Holland Venom movie, which would be a terrible tragedy. I think it would be a cool movie. I mean, if you could get a decent script. The guys who write the Spider-Man movies seem to know how to write a script. Let them write the damn movie. Indie Phantom, Venom overperformed. It certainly did. I still kind of want to see it, but I'll wait for streaming. I got to check out the second one, I think, just for the hell of it. But number 6, dropping from 3, the best Christmas pageant ever. This is the Judy Greer movie. Back in the day, this probably would have done okay, and I think it kind of did okay for what I imagine its budget is. I mean, $25 million for a family comedy. I mean, I can't imagine they spent a ton of money on this thing. You probably could have shot this for $10 million. I think. I don't think they did a tremendous amount of advertising, but that could be money. Alex Ogle is here. Evening, all. I went to see Gladiator 2 on Friday. The theater was full. The film was spectacular, but a shadow of the first one. I think that too much spectacle is really quite boring. Better story needed. That seems to be the story with most movies. Indie Phantom. Where is Here now? What a fall. Or what a fail. Fail or fall? Fail. Yeah, Here is like way down on the list. Here is like, Here did not do well. It's bad. Ardent. Alex, now it's a party. Yeah, we got everybody here tonight. It's a good thing you reminded me and sent that link of the clip, JC, so we had something special. Indie Phantom. Hey, Alex, maybe I will go see it? I mean, you know, as a spectacle movie, I think Gladiator 2 definitely needs to be seen on the big screen. I mean, it's kind of ironic that it's a movie about the Roman spectacles, and it's kind of just a spectacle, right? I mean, that's basically what the games were in Rome, so kind of jibes, but, you know, they spend millions and millions of dollars, and I was complaining about this in my review of The Penguin, because I like the Penguin TV show. I think it's pretty good, but the only thing holding it back is the writing is not quite there. It's pretty good, but it's not as good as the effects, as the makeup, as the acting. It's good, but there are plenty of mistakes in it. And it's like, how do you make that? How do you do everything so perfect? How do you get Colin Farrell so perfect as Oz? How do you get, like, Gotham City? It's so beautiful and perfect in the TV show. Everything in that TV show is just about perfect, but the writing, it's got some problems. You know? JC, followed Nick from the Anti-Gravity Room on Instagram. Looks like a middle-aged family man now. LOL. Oh, that's funny. I gotta find him. Send me that link if you get a chance. Indie Phantom. It is IMAX, so maybe. I would imagine that would be fun to see in IMAX at least, even if the story's not quite up to the level of visuals, but that's the way I feel about The Penguin. It's kind of like, it's pretty good, but it's not blowing me away yet. Like, with everything else they spent the money on, why can't the writing be that good? There's just nobody left in Hollywood that does anywhere close to that. You know, and the changes would have been so minute to fix it It would have been perfect. But I don't know. Anyhow, best Christmas pageant ever. It's a movie that looks good enough that I would even watch it on streaming. I wouldn't watch it on like in the theater, but JC. Oh, there we go. Let's get Nick some followers on Instagram. All right, I'll click that later. Number 7, dropping from 4, is Heretic. This is the horror movie with Hugh Grant. It's an odd little movie. I assume Hugh Grant ends up trying to murder people or torture them in some way. So it's done like 31 million. It probably didn't cost much at all to shoot this. I think it's mostly takes place inside a soundstage, not in a story, but you know, they shot it all on a soundstage. A couple of scenes outside of that. The biggest expense in Heretic is probably Hugh Grant himself, and everything else is like, you know, a couple of mil at most. So this is probably solid money from A24. They're the only people making decent movies anymore, it seems, half the time. And they're only batting about 50% like any other normal studio. But you got to hand it to them. They're making small movies, and many of them at least make their money back and make a profit. That, to me, is the way to do it. I think A24 is going to take over at some point, or one of the big studios will gobble them up and start making all the money from their smaller movies. I don't know. I just wish a company like that would also make comedies, but nobody's really making comedies. Number 8, The Wild Robot, dropping from 5 to 8. Still at 2 million. JC, A24 makes mostly weird, artsy stuff. Well, I don't think Heretic is weird and artsy. It just looks like a fairly straightforward, I don't know, slasher movie or monster movie, I think you would say. It's just that Hugh Grant's the monster. So, Groovy Graveyard. A24 usually keeps the budgets low, and it seems to work. I mean, they did that, they did that one with the hands. It was a small hit for them last year, and they're already doing the sequel. So yeah, they did the. I think they did the Ty West movies too, didn't they do those? I just wish they'd, maybe cut out a division for the comedy. Groovy Graveyard. Everyone is afraid to make comedies now. Yeah, I know, but I think there's a real thirst for them. I think I think the problem is what few comedies they make aren't very good, or they market them as something other than comedies, right? God, I just saw one this week. I saw the trailer, and it's clearly a comedy, but it's being marketed as, I think, a romance, and I totally forget what it is. And in their defense, the comedy sucks, but you could see them trying at least. They just don't hire any comedians is part of the problem. They're still doing it in the UK, ironically enough. I mean, the UK is turning into communist China, essentially. But they're still doing comedies in the UK. They're still hiring literal comedians in the UK that get big. They're giving them movies, and they're making comedies. They just won't do it here. The first movie company to do that, I think, will make a killing on comedies, at least for a while. Because there's just nothing here. I mean, the only thing that kinda is a comedy on this list would be the best Christmas pageant ever. And it kind of slips under the wire as a family movie. But it is a comedy. Other than that, I don't think there's any comedy on here. There's a movie coming out. Supposedly they're in development for, what is it called? Skibidi Toilet? And they're making a movie. If that's not a comedy, I don't think there's any other way they can market it other than a comedy, because it's so stupid. So maybe that will turn the tide. Groovy Graveyard, yes. Ty West convinced A24 to let him shoot X and Pearl back to back to save money. Yeah, it was. I kind of like the Ty West trilogy. I think the Pearl movie was the best one. Indie Phantom was watching a YouTube vid that went through every theatrical release of 1984. The amount of comedies was off the charts, and many still classics or hidden gems. Yeah. And part of the problem too is there's the comedians. There's not a lot of comedians. Oh, Indie Phantom has become a Piney. Welcome, Indie Phantom. And now you can see all my extra videos, and you can see some of my videos early because I finally discovered like you can do a thing where you can allow your subscribers to see a video early that you scheduled. So like when you schedule it, the video will come up for subscribers, and then later it'll pop up whenever you schedule it. So that's a good little function. Indie Phantom, I am a bloody Piney again. Welcome. All right. So, yeah. Indie Phantom, I churn my fave channels. You churn them. Well, thank you for your support. But yes, we need more comedies. I think the problem with the comedies from the studio perspective is you can't market them overseas, or it's really tough to, because people in other countries have different sensibilities and different. So for instance, high school comedies don't really work overseas because the high school systems are different. So for instance, if you do a high school comedy here and you try to market it to Japan, they have a really different system in Japan. Same thing with the UK, I believe. It's a slightly different system. It's pretty close to ours. And then you get out of the UK and it's like, it starts to get crazy. Kite, welcome back, Indie Phantom. So that doesn't quite work because it can't relate to some of the stakes where the comedy will be built on. So mostly when you're doing a comedy, you're talking about a movie you can't take out of the United States. But Hollywood has so hobbled itself at this point. A lot of movies aren't getting outside of the United States anyway, so they might as well do them. Another problem with comedies is, even before the era, the woke era, let's say, where people get offended so much and complain about everything, that was usually the sign of a good comedy anyway, or one that was at least outrageous. And a lot of studios just don't want to deal with the headache of their talent pissing people off. So I of course would love to get some comedy stuff going. It's one of the reasons I don't do as much freelance work as I used to. Up until the woke era, there was a lot of work for comedy guys online. I used to do work for random websites that just wanted something on their site to bring people, and I would just write them comedy. So like, for instance, I worked for a shower door and medicine cabinet company. I think it was that, or it was like a shower company. They built like showers and stuff. And so they wanted something fun for their site that people would read. So I would have to do comedy bits, but I would have to somehow work showers and bathroom remodeling into the bit. And I did that for about 2 or 3 months, and I was just writing all these wacky stories, and he paid me for it, and I don't know if it really brought people to the site, but it was fun. Indie Phantom video request: how to write better comedy scripts, or what Hollywood used to look for in a comedy. Oh, okay, that's a good one. I'll make you a good video on that one. All right. Indie Phantom, thanks. Kite. So yeah, unfortunately nothing here, comedy wise. After Wild Robot, Smile 2, dropping from 6 to 9, still doing $1 million. Indie Phantom, man, remember when TV had comedy throughout primetime? Yeah, that too. And even the comedy on TV is just, it just sucks. I don't know how anybody can watch it. I mean, The Simpsons was top notch for a long time, but you couldn't, and now I just can't even watch it. I can't even look at it. It makes me sick. Same thing with Bob's Burgers. I'm kind of pissed off at Bob's Burgers because they kind of threw Jimmy Pesto under the bus for reasons that you'll have to look up yourself, but it's a shame. But yeah, I can't watch The Simpsons anymore. I just refuse. I can't do it. Can't do it. Milhouse just retired this week, by the way, the voice of Milhouse. Yeah, I mean, if I turned on The Simpsons and listened to the new guy who voiced Dr. Hibbert or Apu, I think I'd punch my television. It's just so insane to me they replaced voices. Same thing with Family Guy and Cleveland. It's like ridiculous what they've done. But Smile 2, still in theaters, still doing well. I can't imagine they won't do a Smile 3. Let's see what this thing did. 135 million. Probably was money. Doesn't say the budget, but I don't think they spend a tremendous amount of money on these Smile movies. I don't think they need to. Alex, it's difficult to be funny when writers have to constantly second guess themselves on whether they will offend anyone. JEC, voice of Marge died. Just ended already. Yeah, or, I mean, what Fox could do, and I don't know, they'd have to jump through a bunch of legal hoops to do it. Just put everybody's voice on AI and just make 1 million cartoons until the sun cools. But at this point, I don't care what they do. I'm never going to watch the show again. But yes, in terms of second guessing yourself about offending anyone, yeah, you don't want to do that. In fact, you kind of want to offend people. You kind of want to go right up to the line and skirt it a little bit. But nobody understands that art anymore. If you go right up to the line, because sometimes you go up to the line, you kind of tip over it a little bit and whoops, shouldn't have said that. Oh, well. And normally people would let you skate, but now these days they just don't. And I understand people's paranoia, but comedy is really in a bad spot. I mean, there's still a few guys that are funny, but most of the comedy comes out of places that are very sort of underground on the internet, I would say. I had the idea of going to an open mic night and doing a line for line reprise of a Lenny Bruce bit. Now, if you don't know Lenny Bruce, he was a famous comedian back in the 50s, and he was famous for saying things that back in the 50s were pretty outrageous, including talking about racial slurs. And he had this whole bit about racial slurs and how they affect language and stuff. And my idea was to go do it word for word as Lenny did it to see the audience's reaction. But then I realized nobody in the audience would probably even remember who Lenny Bruce was, and they wouldn't get it. And I'd be, attacked by the audience and probably run out of town on a rail. So I didn't do it, but I thought about it. Indie Phantom, when do you think Simpsons totally jumped the shark? Well, the obvious moment is when Disney bought them, and then the next season just had woke thing after woke thing. I mean, a lot of people point back earlier than that. I was very biased for the show and defended it for a long time, and I was working for the Simpsons comics. I can't say that there's a specific moment I can point to, but, it really started to grind people's gears once they started doing stuff that broke the fourth wall. So, for instance, the episode where they reveal that, you know, it was like a behind the scenes look at The Simpsons, and then the premise was Homer actually invented the show, and then, you know, they, you know, it was like one of those Entertainment Tonight deals where they interview a cast of the show, but the cast were like the real show characters as well, and Homer invented the show, and they made all this money. And I mean, that's a good episode. It's a good satire of those shows, but that to me was kind of when it was like over. And after that, it was like, yeah, maybe you should close this down. JC, the new book I'm working on is a comedy. The humor makes fun of both sides, trying to confuse the issue so much you're not sure which side I'm coming from. Ooh, a new comic from JC, everybody. Look for that. Good luck with that. That's a tough balancing act, JC. Alex, the classic line by Jimmy Carr when ridiculing an audience member. I don't know where the line is until I step over it. That is true. It really is. You kind of got to keep going up there until you step over it, and then, whoops. Indie Phantom, Lenny was a good film with Dustin Hoffman. Yes. Groovy Graveyard, Smile 2 budget was $28 million. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Expect another one of these. That's money in the bank. JEC, Lenny Bruce was kind of overrated looking back at his clip. Well, you have to understand him in context. Like, at that time, nobody was doing anything like that. You know, he was a pioneer of his day. Now you would look at it and go, well, so what? But back then, except for maybe the Borscht Belt guys who tended to be really, really dirty. I'm old enough that I saw Buddy Hackett live one time. My parents took us me and my brother to I don't know where it was. I guess it was Atlantic City in the early days. And we went to a show, and Buddy Hackett was there doing stand-up. And he was easily, to this day, he was probably the dirtiest comic I've ever seen live. I mean, this guy he came right out the gate. He was just saying the dirtiest, most filthy things you could possibly think of. And he just never stopped. And he was just constantly working on the audience. Like, he almost had no jokes. He was just, interacting with the audience. He was walking around, and I was laughing my ass off just because I hadn't heard so many dirty words in my tiny little life. JC, season 13 was the last watchable season. The Simpsons are going to Delaware. It's the moment I knew the show wasn't going to be funny anymore. Not the episode Tony talked about the second time. I remember the Simpsons are going to Delaware moment. I can't remember. Indie Phantom. Season 13 sounds about right, JEC. It had a solid run. Ardent. Yeah, Jimmy Carr kind of dances over the line as opposed to Richard Pryor, who set the line on fire and snorted the ashes. JEC. It's called the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. It's a parody of 80s action Nancy Reagan and anti-drug PSAs. Oh, okay. The Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. I was looking to see if that's an anagram, but it's not. So I assume that will be a crowd-funded deal, JC. Good luck with that. I heard an interesting story, circling back to Richard Pryor, Ardent, that he made a conscious effort to stop using the N-word in his act, but I don't ever remember him not using that word in his act. But apparently he decided like he wasn't going to do that anymore. Alex, I could see The Simpsons going over the precipice with the episode where Lisa becomes a vegetarian. Classic lines. You don't make friends with salad. I remember that. But Paul McCartney was insufferable. Yeah, that was weird. That was pretty woke. I remember that episode. Groovy Graveyard. Lenny Bruce bridged the gap between just telling jokes and observational humor. Well, he was definitely a pioneer in his day. JC, I mean, people were still wearing suits to go out to see him. That's how old he is. I mean, JC, The Simpsons is Going to Delaware was at the end of the episode you were talking about, but then the season finale began with the same joke. It was a terrible episode. I have a publisher for it, working with a writer. Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Can you say the name of the publisher? Indie Phantom. My dad and I saw Red Fox with a mostly black audience. Funny AS because he was using my dad as a prop. Dad was drinking on a punchline. LOL. That sounds funny. Did I see Red Fox? I'm trying to think if I did. No, I saw Red Fox on TV though. When I wasn't allowed to watch such R-rated fare on like HBO or something. JC, Mad Cave. So Mad Cave is the publisher of JC's next comic. So look for that. I assume they have a website somewhere. Yeah, so and you know, they had all these comics, and I went to go see more recently. I saw some local comics live. They weren't super local, but it was at a gunning club. Yep, I went to see comedians at a gunning club, and they're pretty good. One woman was terrible. She should not have been on. I literally could have gone up there and taken the mic from her and done 5 minutes off the top of my head better than what she did. But the headlining guy was really good. He was really funny, and but that's where comics have kind of gone back to, I guess. You know, they've gone back to being working comics, where they're playing gun clubs and, you know, little tiny venues of just groups of people who just want to laugh, which kind of gets them back to their roots, and it's kind of more wholesome in a lot of ways. You know, with the comedy, it's like real comedy to me, because they're really working for the laughs, you know. And it was pretty good. JEC, it'll be a while. We just started working on issue 2. Oh, so it's going to be a regular thing? JEC, how many times did she mention her period? Who are you talking about? Did I miss something? How many times did she mention her period? Do you think Red Fox is a woman? Because Red Fox isn't a woman. Red Fox is the star of Sanford and Son. He was the older guy. Lamont, it's a big one, Lamont. That guy. If you haven't seen the show, it's pretty awesome. They did a parody with Trump. the Sanford and Son opening, except they deep faked Trump over Red Fox, and Lamont was his son in the show, so they put Don Jr. where Lamont was, and then there was a female character in the Sanford and Son show that Red Fox would always go back and forth with, so they deep faked Nancy Pelosi's head on her, so that was pretty funny. JC, unfunny female comedian. Who is? The female comic, says Groovy Graveyard. Oh, you're talking about the comic. Oh, sorry. No, she didn't do. She just was terrible. No, she didn't do female comic tropes. She just couldn't do it. She literally couldn't do it. I mean, she was nervous. She had jokes, but they weren't landing, and it was a shame. Groovy Graveyard. Aunt Esther. I knew you would know that. I knew you would know that name. Aunt Esther was the name of the character. Yeah. So they superimposed Nancy Pelosi, and it's Trump, Don Jr., and Nancy Pelosi in Sanford and Son. That's the one awesome thing with like deep fakes and AI. You could do stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. I'll tell you, the funniest material is in memes. A lot of it's in memes on X right now. That's where some of the funniest stuff is. Some of the meme makers, they're some of the most hilarious guys working, because they're actually doing comedy. They're actually pissing a lot of people off. And You know, unfortunately, you can't really make a movie out of memes. I mean, somebody will probably try, but I don't think there's any real way to do it off the top of my head. But yeah, I think what we need right now, and I've toyed with this idea for many years, is I would love to do a sketch style movie in the sort of like Kentucky Fried Movie, where it's not like one big story, it's a bunch of sketches, comedy sketches strung together. We could use one of them. And you know, to me, they're kind of cheap to shoot, but I don't see anybody doing it. I mean, you really gotta. About the only guys I said who could do something like that might be like the Broken Lizard guys from Super Troopers. Maybe they could do it. They're pretty funny, although their record's not great, but they've got some hits. Number 10, A Real Pain, did $1 million. Again, these movies, I mean, this is number 10 and it's doing $1 million. That's pretty good in its fourth week. But overall, it only did, looks like about 4 or 5 million domestically. Yeah, that's not very good, but I mean, it might be super cheap to shoot. I don't know. Number 11 is Conclave, dropping from 7. That is not good, because this movie looks expensive. It's in its fifth week. I don't think it made its money at 29 million. Do we have a... No, we don't have a budget on this one. Yeah, Conclave... I complained about this the other day. Hollywood just keeps making religious movies, and they're so irreligious at this point. It seems to be a disservice to everybody that they even make these movies. If you're not going to hire people that at least like religion to some degree, I don't know why you keep making these movies. It's like Hollywood makes some movies political and religious, with the idea of this is the way we want religion to be, and this is the way we'd like politics to be, but it's just not reality, and so nobody likes them except the people, I guess, caught up in that reality. Indie Phantom, Amazon Women on the Moon. Yeah, that's a classic. JC, Super Troopers was like 20 years ago. They're old and washed up. Whew, brutal, JC. Brutal. Was it that long ago? I don't know. There's no one left then. Yeah, comedy is a young man's game. If I were to coordinate something like that, I'd have to get a bunch of young comics to be in it. I don't even know if you could find, you know, a cast of 8 people who would be funny enough to even do it. And it's so hard to work with comedians. It really is. They're all a-holes. They really are. But that's what kind of makes them funny, is that they're kind of overconfident a-holes. If the moment you become more adult and less of a confident a-hole, it starts hurting your comedy. That's why comedians are so miserable. They spend all their time on the road, you know, slinging jokes, and they have no lives, and they're just friggin' miserable. But then on stage, they go up there and they're funny. JC, Sam Hyde might be able to do it. Yeah, he would be fun. He sounds like a fun dude. Groovy Graveyard. Amazon Women on the Moon was great. They even shot extra bits for TV. Ooh. Alex Ogle. Young comics. Who is in the cadre of mythical creatures? They probably exist, but you'd really have to hunt for them. There's nobody super famous who's that young, other than maybe Matt Rife. He's like the only guy I can think of off the top of my head. He's doing okay. He's pretty young still. They're putting him in movies that don't appear to be funny. Like, they put him in this movie where it's this weird movie where he's part of a team of bike riders, and they get stuck at this villa in Spain during some sort of disaster, and they can't leave. And I don't know, it's a very strange movie, but it's not a comedy. And you just wonder, why did they put him in the movie? Like, why won't they put him in a funny movie? Because they're just not making comedies. Like, this is the only thing he could do. it's a shame because he's a young enough guy. You could put him in anything, essentially. You know, you could put him in a romantic comedy, like one that's more comedy than romance, because he's a young enough guy. He's in shape. You could put him in a comedy sports movie. I mean, the sky's the limit with a guy like that. I mean, I don't know if his comedy chops are okay. He seems okay. I've seen a few clips from him. He seems fun. But I don't know. They put him in some kind of crazy horror movie where he's trapped in a Spanish villa and part of a bike team, and they're all killing each other. It's like, what? Who the hell wants to see that? Why would his audience go to see him in that movie? Doesn't make any sense. Like, they want to go see him in a comedy about some of the stuff he talks about in his stand-up. But what was the last movie that was based on a comic? I guess it was, what's the name? Anthony Maniscalco, the Italian guy. He's in that movie where Robert De Niro plays his dad, and he's getting married, and it's all his comedy bits about being Italian and his Italian dad embarrassing him. But, like, I don't know. Robert De Niro in a comedy, even before he became an a-hole, I didn't want to see that. So, number 12, Hello Again, dropping from 8. This is a romance movie with Andrew Garfield, I believe, right? Isn't that the one? Yes? Or no? No, this is a different movie. No, I'm confusing it with another movie. So it did $5 million. Probably didn't cost much to shoot. It's in its second week. It dropped 58%. It doesn't bode well. Groovy Graveyard, Sebastian Maniscalco. Thank you. Ardent, Sebastian Maniscalco. Yeah, that's who I mean. Thank you. Number 13, dropping from 10, is Anora. This is one of the few movies that's out that's got a little bit of buzz, because this was the actress who said she didn't want the intimacy coordinators and thought they were stupid. So it's in its 6th week. It never really got up there. It never really got into a lot of theaters. But I kind of mildly would... I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing it. The trailer looked okay. It did $21 million, which isn't bad for essentially what's a romance movie, I think. It's like 2 star-crossed lovers and I think Russian mob guys who don't like it. So maybe. 14, We Live in Time. No, that's the Andrew Garfield movie. Yeah, this is going out of theaters in its 7th week, 157,000. All the way at the bottom, near the bottom. Number 15, Here, Robert Zemeckis, $85,000. Ouch. In its 4th week, and they can't get this out of movie theaters fast enough. I mean, 350 screens, $12 million. Oof. Oofa. Cost $50 million and it only made $12 million. It doesn't even count the advertising. Holy F. What a disaster. Oh my God. They're not going to give Robert Zemeckis $50 million ever again. I don't think so. It's a shame because I kind of like the premise of the exercise, but I don't know. I guess it's not a very good movie. I mean, the premise of the movie is the camera stays still throughout the entire movie. It's in the same spot through the entire movie. It's kind of like doing, when Alfred Hitchcock did Rope. And, yeah. I mean, there's only so much you could do with that, right? There's got to be times in the movie where you're like, oh my God, we're still in the same spot. JC, Here left theaters faster than Tom Hanks fled the country after Trump got elected. Hello! Hey-o! Ba-dum-bum. Indie Phantom. I went to see Here, but Hanks and he are back to disasters. Are back-to-back disasters. I want to see Here, but Hanks and he are back-to-back disasters. Yeah, well, this will be on streaming. I'd give it a month, and it'll probably be on streaming, if not sooner, because it did so poorly. Might as well jam it on the stream. Maybe somebody sees it before word gets out. Indie Phantom. I read that one. JC, how do you spend $50 million on a movie with one camera setup? Well, there's a lot of effects. It starts in dinosaur times. So you see the dinosaurs running around, and then you see, things evolve, and, primitive man, and eventually, it takes place in America, so eventually you see Native Americans, and then you see the colonists come, and the house gets built, and on and on. Indie Phantom. Pinocchio was the previous Hanks and Zemeckis combo. Yeah, I mean, at least that movie has a bit of a shelf life because people always kind of want to see Pinocchio. They may not want to see that version, but some people won't care and just rent it. So they at least make some of that money back. Like this movie, it's just going to disappear. Indie Phantom. Yeah, here is effects heavy. Alex Ogle. A film with a stationary camera could be interesting if conceived correctly. My big complaint with Gladiator 2 is that the bloody awful blocking. Ridley Scott should have rewatched I, Claudius. Huh. I do hate it when the blocking's terrible. The only time I really noticed it was on The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead has some of the worst blocking in television history, in my view. JC. Sounds like a washed-up boomer trying to be artsy. JC. Telling it like it is. Well, I give him credit for trying something different. No one in Hollywood's trying anything different, except maybe Chris Nolan. Everybody's doing the same sort of things, and now they're remake after remake. I mean, at least the guy tried something. He failed at it, but he tried. I think part of the problem was using Tom Hanks. I think Tom Hanks is done. Somehow Samuel L. Jackson keeps getting into movies that people see, but I think people are kind of sick of Tom Hanks. He's been in everything. He kind of does the same guy at every movie, mostly. And this one, it was definitely a Tom Hanks, guy. He's not a very versatile actor. He's just like Tom Hanks is like Jimmy Stewart. He's an everyman. That's kind of what Jimmy Stewart's deal was. He was always Jimmy Stewart in the movies. Wasn't really different. And Tom Hanks, Indie Phantom, The Walking Dead? Yeah. Terrible blocking in The Walking Dead. Just the worst. Oh, that I noticed it just makes it the worst. Yeah, I think just Tom Hanks is just so over. People are sick of him, and he doesn't do comedies anymore. He used to do all kinds of fun comedies. Like, he's a guy who could go into Hollywood and be, I want to do a comedy. And he's been in comedies. He's got comedic timing. He doesn't have to be the star. Like, you put Tom Hanks in the movie as, I don't know, the dad, and Matt Rife as the son. Make some comedy premise, whatever it is. Maybe you got something there. Like, Robert De Niro being in a comedy, that's just dead weight, in my view. Alex Ogle. Tom Hanks doesn't play characters. Tom Hanks plays Tom Hanks in situations where other characters should be. Yeah. Indie Phantom. Time for Hanks to make Splash 2. He could do that. Yeah, you could do a new Splash 2 where Tom Hanks is the older guy and like Matt Rife is the guy who falls in love with the mermaid. You get some hot chick to be the new mermaid. JC. Hanks wishes he was Jimmy Stewart. Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, he kind of is, because that was Jimmy Stewart. He was always Jimmy Stewart. Groovy Graveyard. I'm waiting to see Diddy Party with Tom Hanks. That's another problem. A lot of these guys are done because of that. Even if that stuff just goes away, and it will, you'll just stop hearing about it. there are just people who know about it, like me and like some of you, who will just say, nah, I don't want to give this guy my money. You know, when you're on the bubble about seeing a film, anything could be the deciding factor, and that's a good one. You know, do I really want to give this guy my money? Nah. Wasn't there a sequel to Splash anyway? JC, didn't they make a Splash 2 or did they remake it? I don't know. To the IMDb. Let's see. Something called A Bigger Splash with Tilda Swinton. That is not it. Splash 2, 1988. Alan and Madison return to New York. One to save his business, the other to save a dolphin in captivity. So, weird. Completely different cast. Oh, it was a TV movie. Huh. Splash was 1984. Any of the same people on this? No. Definitely not. Splash, Splash, Love, Splash, Splash City, Splash and Bubbles, Splash 2013. Is that? No. So, JC, it would have been recently. I'm not seeing a recent one. 2013, 2015, 2016, Splash and Bubbles. That doesn't seem like it would be it. 1985 TV series, Hot Splash. Splash of love, a bigger splash, color splash, splash, splatter, Splash Mountain. Yeah, I'm not seeing it here. Oh wait, here's a no, that's a short. 2019, no, that's a short too. So I'm not really seeing it. Ardent at JEC, high five. Ardent, I thought Splash 2 was the one. It kind of looks like a sequel, but it's completely different cast. JC, maybe they just announced they're remaking it. Oh, you know what? I vaguely remember that too now that you say it. They may have announced that. So it may be something they announced, but it hasn't come together yet. I mean, it's been 40 years. But it's kind of a generic movie anyway, so you could remake it. Nobody remembers. I mean, some people remember the Tom Hanks one, but you could remake it. And you could put, like, super hot chick in it. But will they put a super hot chick? Well, maybe. But good chance maybe not. You know, a good chance they put, I don't know, Melissa McCarthy as the mermaid. You know, don't fat shame. Don't you dare fat shame. Or, you know, a guy. A very effeminate guy. I mean, they could use, who's that dude who's always dressing like a girl? Oh, the gay guy. I can't think of his name. Billy something. Billy Porter? Yeah, make him the mermaid. And then they'll do it. Ardent. Splash 2. Splash 2 is a 1988 American-made television film sequel to the film Splash. Oh, okay, so that was it. Produced by the Walt Disney Company, directed by Greg Anotachi, and written by Bruce Franklin Singh. Ardent or Muscle. Groovy Graveyard, paging Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, you beat Alex to the punch. Groovy Graveyard, our running bit. JEC, they would cast some Hollywood producer's mixed race child like every other movie. You said it. I was thinking it. Indie Phantom. Disney censored Hannah's butt on Disney Plus. That's a shame. That was a good butt they censored. That was quality butt. That was JFK Jr. butt. Yeah, I would. I could see them remaking it. I mean, it's been so long, and again, it's kind of a generic movie. But I think the key is you'd have to cast the hottest woman in the world, and you'd have to cast, right now, Sydney Sweeney. And I think people would come running to the theaters to see her naked. Oh, yeah. If you had a topless scene with Sydney Sweeney as the mermaid, psh, yeah. Yeah, I think I'd see that. I think I'd absolutely 100% go see that. Who could be the guy? Well, it's a comedy. So I would, again, cast Matt Rife. He's the only guy I can think of. But he would be fine. He's in shape. He's young enough. And then the John Candy was in Splash. So the John Candy role, who could you cast? Well, you'd want Tom Hanks in it, probably, if he'd do it. You know, at least as a cameo. And Daryl Hannah. So maybe they could both be in it as like an older couple just to make a cameo. But who would be the fat comedian guy? Fat comedian. Who's a fat comedian these days? I can't even think of one. JC. Where's the lie? Ziegler, the chick from... Ziegler, the chick from the last Star Wars show. They're all Nepo babies. Yeah, no, you're 100%. Alex Ogle. Damn it, Groovy Graveyard. I was just inventing a pitch for a comedy based on the radio comedy from the 1950s BBC, The Navy Lark, with Sweeney, and you come up with a better idea. Indie Phantom. Alex, kick up your game. Indie Phantom. Is the man with the one red shoe about Hanks being a closet commie? I don't know. I didn't see that movie. I think it's a remake of a French film. Ardent, cast Brad Williams to replace John Candy. Diana is here. Welcome, Diana. Diana says, Stravos Haikias. I don't know who that is. Is that a person? Or are you saying something in Greek that I don't understand? At Groovy Graveyard, at Alex, I'm sure she'd do both. Let me see who Brad Williams is. Real quick. Brad Williams. All right. Is that Brad? Oh, okay. Yeah. He'd be fun. Sure. Maybe Brad Williams. The little guy. Sure. Indie Phantom. Candy Roll goes to Kevin James to block Jack Black. That would be acceptable. Kevin James. He's a little old, but I would be okay. Deanna, fat comedian. Oh, okay. So Stravos Haikias. I don't know him. Let's see if I can find him. What does he look like? Stravos. Am I spelling that correctly? Yeah. Oh, there he is. Oh, Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis could be one. Yeah, they don't have a picture of him here for some reason. They have a picture of Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis would probably be the go-to guy right now. I forgot about him. I always forget about him because I'm kind of mad at him for doing that Bud Light commercial, trying to help them. Not a cool thing, Shane. Ardent at Diana. Hello. JC. Stravos Haikias is a fat comedian. Okay. Groovy Graveyard. Formerly of, I don't know if I should say that. I'll just say Seatown. Ardent. Brad is friggin' hilarious. Alex Ogle. Hanks was great in The Money Pit. Oh, I did like that movie. Remake with Sweeney in place of Shelley Long, but who to replace Hanks? Bill Burr would come to mind. He's a little old for it, but I think he can pull it off. Give him a hairpiece. Yeah, he would be good. Diana at Ardent. Hi. Ardent, message retracted. Groovy Graveyard. Shane Gillis could do John Candy. Yeah, 100%. He's kind of heavy, and he kind of has that sort of dynamic. A little bit. Not totally, but a little bit. But Candy was very versatile. I don't know if Shane Gillis is, but Candy certainly was. Let's finish up the list. New movies premiering. Flow. Not sure what this is. It's in 2 theaters. A wondrous journey through the realms of the natural and mystical. Flow follows a courageous cat after his home is devastated by a great flood, teaming up with a capybara, a lemur, a bird, and a dog. Okay, so it's a kids movie. All right. Sabbath Queen. Not sure what this is. A feature documentary filmed over 21 years follows Rabbi Amy Chow Lao Lavi's epic journey as the dynastic heir of 38 generations of Orthodox rabbis, including the chief rabbis of Israel. He's torn between rejecting and embracing his destiny and becomes a drag queen rebel, a queer All right, forget it. I'm not interested now. All right. Porcelain War. Is this about toilets? It's another animal movie. It's a story of 3 Ukrainian artists defiantly finding inspiration and beauty as they defend their culture and their country against Russian aggression. Sounds like total propaganda. No, thank you. No, thank you. Ardent. LOL. Give Bill Burr a ginger dreadlock hairpiece to top it off. Indie Phantom. Oh, I still need to see The Money Pit. Someone else just recommended it to me. Yeah, it's very good. It's very good, especially if you've ever had, a house and had to keep it fixed up and whatnot. The JEC. The other host from the Anti-Gravity Room, Phil, just followed me back. He was host on the after-school block of cartoons up here in Canada when I was a kid, so I'm marking out about it. Nice. All your childhood heroes now follow you on Instagram. That's nice. Alex Ogle at Indie Phantom. You haven't seen The Money Pit? Sort that out immediately. Yes, I agree. All right. Speaking of sorting things out, it's time to see what happened this week in Hollywoke by checking the trades. Wicked is queen of the castle. Oh, what was the total on the box office this week? Yeah, it's $204 million. Wasn't even $100 million last week. Now it's $204 million. It's crazy. That is a crazy, crazy amount of money. All right. So Variety. Let's see. Oh, Chuck Woolery's dead, if you did not know. Very sad. Ardent at JEC. Was that one of the VJs on YTV? Yeah, this was kind of a surprise. I didn't realize this guy was 83. That's kind of up there. It's not a bad run. Alex, I see Wicked pulled a Dune by consisting of parts. So that... Oh, you mean there's going to be more of these movies? Ah, great. I thought that was just... I thought it was the whole movie in one movie. It's not. It's not even the whole story. Ugh. Okay. Whatever. Now it's nothing but Wicked stories. Let's see. Oscar predictions 2025. Who cares? Who cares? And they're already putting Wicked on the list and Gladiator too. Like, these movies just came out and you're already like, oh, Oscars. Oh, give them Oscars. Why? Because you finally made something that made money, Hollywood? Pathetic. God, there's nothing here. Oh, here's the voice of Milhouse. Pamela Hayden is leaving The Simpsons. So that was another thing I told you about. That happened like earlier in the week. JEC at Ardent. Yes, PJ Presh Phil from YTV. Groovy Graveyard. It's basically a remake of Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. Oh, did not know that. Ardent. Wicked Part 2. El Faba Gets a Bath? Is that one of the characters? I'm going to assume it is. Ardent at JC. That's awesome. JEC, let's get some PJ Phil some more followers. Follow PJ Phil if you'd like. All right, what else happened this week? Amy Adams talking about her new movie Night Bitch, which just sounds and looks stupid as F. Ardent Elphaba is the green chick. Okay, so she's the witch. Could the new Netflix John Benet Ramsey docuseries lead to an arrest? Director Joe Berlinger thinks so. Yeah, I don't think so. But, I mean, at this point, God, like, can you not let the dead rest, Hollywood? Making another docu-series about John Benet? God, I feel bad for her. She died and somebody horribly murdered her, but at this point, I don't see the just beating a dead horse. Okay. I thought there was something else that happened this week in Variety. Kendrick Lamar dropped an album. Oh, here was something. Yeah. So, I don't see the article, but I think I remember what happened. The Rust movie dropped at I think it was a Polish film festival, or it premiered in Poland, I forget. And the mother of the cinematographer who died, who was shot by Alec Baldwin, accidentally, let's be honest, and died, was not having it. It's not. I don't know who the hell wants to go see Rust. Like, why would you want to see that? You're not going to see her shot. She wasn't in the movie. She wasn't a character in the movie. I don't even know if the cameras were rolling when it happened. It's like, it is kind of gruesome, but at the same time, they probably were contractually obligated to finish the damn movie if they could. But I don't know who would want to go see it and support Alec Baldwin. Seems like, I mean, I guess there are a lot of weirdos out there who would just see it, but Ardent, I think they chose the title Night Bitch trying to be edgy, but it's just cringe enough to awaken a dead weasel. Yeah, I don't really like it. It just doesn't, it has no cadence to it. It doesn't mean anything. Night Bitch. It just sort of sits there. Groovy Graveyard. Wicked 2, audience 0. Ardent at Groovy Graveyard, A1. JC, beat a dead horse. Poor choice of words, Tony. Oops. Alex Ogle, we need to recapture 80s schlock. Wicked 2 should be interrupted by a team of muscle-bound mercenaries with pew-pews and explosions. I would like that. Ardent at Alex Ogle. Or just take a Python Holy Grail turn where the Spanish Inquisition shows up and threatens to burn them at the stake. Maybe it'll happen, because no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. And that was it, I guess. I thought there were some other stories this week. All right, checking over at the Fandom Pulse. Image Comics creator Josh Howard talks his new crowd-funded Black Harvest remastered. This book looks very familiar. It looks like another comic whose name escapes me now. Artist was Charles, can't think of his name, but he did a lot of really weird indie comics. It kind of apes that style a little bit. I don't know if any of you guys read this. I haven't seen it. Star Wars actor Mark Hamill announces quitting all social media, saying healing takes time, just days after retreating to the Blue Sky Echo Chamber. Ardent, looks a bit like Witchblade. Indie Phantom, let's not forget Wicked is only Act 1. The sequel is next year. They are leaving much of that out of the marketing. Oh, God. JC, Charles Burns, yes, thank you. Charles Burns. It reminds me of Charles Burns. Alex Ogle. Wark Hamill quitting all social media. No, please, Mark. Don't deprive us of your wisdom. Groovy Graveyard. Charles Burns. Yep. I knew you guys would know. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Charles Burns, doesn't it? Just going back there for a minute. Kinda, right? Although he wouldn't draw something that sort of girly or sexy, but yeah, so Mark Hamill finally just giving up the ghost and quitting social media along with Rob Reiner. I wonder if they're going to the same therapist. Indie Phantom. Hamill needs to bathe in a Bacta fluid for a while. Oh, that's the one from what's the name? Empire Strikes Back, right? Ardent. LOL, funny how the left bails out to another platform within weeks of it's got a, quote, child enthusiast problem. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen any of that kind of stuff, but I have very limited sort of range on Blue Sky because I only have like 6 followers or something. Indie Phantom. Stephen King also rage quit X. Oh, yeah, I couldn't be happier about that because Stephen King stuff kept showing up in my feed. So did Mark Hamill, but not nearly as much as Stephen King because I'm in the writing community and because I'm an author, like, I guess the algorithm kind of, there's an overlap there. And one time I clicked on one of his responses and then he was in my feed ever since. It was so annoying because he has TDS wicked bad. And he would not shut up. And he said some of the stupidest things. Like Mark Hamill, he was more dramatic. And you could kind of, I mean, not that I like what he said, but like, he's at least an actor. Like, Stephen King's terrible TDS was more about like showing you how smart he was. And it just weren't smart. It was just like, dude, please. And so, thankfully, good. Don't come back, but they will. The moment he has a project or whatever, he'll have to come back and start promoting again. But they never should have started down this path. Like, if I was one of these celebrities, if I had my sanity and I wasn't like all coked up, my goal would have been to never talk about politics ever. And if anybody like sort of prodded me one way or the other, I'd just be like, look, I don't want to talk about politics. William Shatner held the line forever. I mean, for effing ever. And he's sort of gone back. He went back on that a little bit when he went on the Bill Maher show and he said some political things. But he got right back on X and he kind of like got right off of it again. So that to me is the smart move. For someone like Mark Hamill, he gains absolutely nothing from being political. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Stephen King, like, you would think a guy who writes books would be a little more well-read, but he famously, in support of the Ukrainian war, I assume, talked to, I guess it was Zelensky or one of the Zelensky guys, I don't remember, but they mentioned Stephen Bandera. Now, Stephen Bandera is a national hero in the Ukraine, but he was one of the bad guys from Germany, essentially. He was Ukrainian, but he joined one of the outfits, I'll say, in the bad guys in Germany. The worst possible outfit you could join within the bad guys from Germany. And he was a colonel. And so he is considered a national hero in the Ukraine because Ukrainians hated the Soviet Union so much, they joined up with the bad guys from Germany during the big war. And I'm saying it this way because YouTube's algorithm will slam me. Anyhow, they got into a discussion online, and apparently Stephen King either didn't know who Stephen Bandera was, or he did, and I don't think he really praised him, but like, he shouldn't have been taught. He shouldn't even have been in the conversation. Like, doesn't make any sense to me. Makes zero sense for a guy like Stephen King who writes horror and doesn't talk about politics. Typically, like, to suddenly get in on it. Like, it's such a panic move, in my view. Like, if you were gonna do that, at least read about who the hell you're talking about. And then know going into it, when that name came up, Bandera, you'd be like, oh, he's your national hero. He's not mine. Like, say something. But anyhow. JC, Charles Byrne, if he did tattoos. Yes. Groovy Graveyard. Or the same island. Ardent. Yeah, I got Hamill and King too until I muted one and blocked the other. Keith Overman is another TDS nut job. I'm still laughing at Keith Olbermann, though. I'm embarrassed to say I used to watch his show back in the Bush era, but back then I thought he was sane. Groovy Graveyard. Stephen King broke my heart. I worshipped him in the 80s. Yeah, it's sad. Like, he's another guy who didn't really need to get political. You made your money. You don't need to be down in the trenches on social media. Like, a guy like me, I sort of need to be in it. And it's the hot thing to do, and I have political views, and I wrote political satire, so I have at least a partial brand in that area. These guys don't have a reason to do it. I mean, all it could do for them is hurt their brand. There's no upside to it at all, other than that, I guess their ego tells them, oh, I'm on the right side of history, or whatever. Or they perceive, like, I think someone like Taylor Swift got pushed into it because I think her management probably said to her, listen, if you don't make a statement soon, you're going to start losing followers. But she even tried to stay out of it for a while. Ardent. I liked King until I finally got around to reading It. Yeah, I never read It. I read Pet Sematary, and then I heard about that scene in It, and I just thought, well, that's weird. Why the hell did he put that in it? Alex Ogle. King wrote lovely gory horror, but couldn't help inserting sexual degeneracy where it had no purpose. Yeah, apparently. I don't know. I never read it, but sounds gross. JC, give your phone to your assistant to repost links to your upcoming projects and never state your opinion about anything publicly. That's what Tom Cruise does. You don't know anything about Tom Cruise's politics. I mean, he's a Scientologist, but even that he's backed off on. Publicly talking about Scientology. He never really talked about it too publicly, except I think on that Oprah interview where he said a bunch of stupid things, but after that he kind of never went back. But yeah, Tom Cruise, good luck figuring out his politics. Ardent, yeah, hire a social media assistant. Don't do it yourself unless politics is your jam. Yeah, and Tom Cruise doesn't do his own Twitter. Like, his assistant will say, Tom says this or that. Groovy Graveyard, I almost thought Shatner was almost trolling on Bill Maher. Could have been. Jon Stewart gave an award to Yahtzee. Really? Yahtzee, the guy from, what's-a-face, that YouTube channel, I can't think of what it is. I used to watch him. His videos were his video game reviews were kind of fun. Jon Stewart gave him an award? Weird. Ardent. Well, the entirety of Parliament here in Canada have a former Ukrainian World War II soldier a standing O. I saw that. Yeah. I bet they're big Stephen King fans then. JC, it was like when they shouted out that one mid-century German in Canadian House of Commons. There it is. The man fought Russia during World War II. What a hero. Wait a minute. Yeah. Alex Ogle, trouble with the woke is that they think those mid-20th century Germans were right-wing. Their arguments always fall apart because they won't accept that Mr. Guy with a mustache, I'll say, was every bit a socialist. He certainly was. He was in a party called the National Socialist. And you know the rest. I probably shouldn't have said that. Damn it, YouTube algorithm. Ardent. Yeah, 90% of the content that goes on my show on Sundays comes off of Twitter now. Whew. Yeah, you must have a ton of material. Carter Jane. What do you mean? Cruz is a lefty like everyone else. Remember when he had a freak on the MI crew while filming during COVID? Yeah, but I don't think that was political for him. I think he genuinely thought that it was going to hurt the movie. I heard that freak out. I don't think that was political for him at all. I think it's more like Tom Cruise is like a perfectionist, and he is like on set. You better wake the F up if you're on Tom Cruise's set and be doing your job, because Tom Cruise, I don't think, has a problem with yelling at anybody. But I don't know. I think for some people they were genuine. I was genuinely scared at the beginning of the virus of unknown origin, as the critical drinker says sometimes. Groovy Graveyard. No, a Ukrainian Yahtzee. Oh, he gave an oh, that's right. I think I do remember that now. Yeah, Jon Stewart. Yeah, not good, John. Not good. And he has no excuse. Jon Stewart has no excuse for that mistake. Jon Stewart's actually got it's like when Bill Maher makes a mistake like that, and I kind of call him out, although it's just his opinion, really. But even Bill Maher, he does not have, I'll say, great researchers. But Jon Stewart, yeah, he should not make mistakes like that. Indie Phantom. When will actors and celebs learn? Likely never. Not in this era. No. They're too caught up in it. And there is this delayed reaction because I think Hollywood is so bloated and falling apart now. You know, there was a time when it was more responsive, I think, where celebrities were more responsive because they needed to be, because it was their bread and butter, and they wanted to get in a movie or they wanted to do a show, and they were, you know, more responsive and careful. Not anymore. They're too rich. You know, a guy like Tom Hanks, does he really have to be careful about anything? I mean, let's be honest. If you had Tom Hanks' money, you'd probably be, when I told the story earlier about wanting to tell that woman to shut the F up, if I had Tom Hanks' money, I'd be telling people to shut the F up all day long. Because I'd be like, what the hell do I care if you're mad? I've got hundreds of millions of dollars. Shut the F up. Because you just would. So, I imagine. I don't know. I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars. Alex Ogle. Ha! If we can get you saying Nat Sock, then it's only a matter of time before you accidentally read out something like, how dare you? How dare you put... Now that's something YouTube should censor, Alex. Pineapple on pizza. No, it doesn't belong on pizza, sir. JEC. I'm like Mr. Mitzelplex. I'm not going to say that. JEC. He didn't like calling himself a communist because there were too many of those people who he didn't like involved in communism or in communist, Lenin, Marx, etc. Isn't it weird you could say communist stuff all day long on YouTube, but the other stuff, for some reason, you can't? Groovy Graveyard. I think the Cruise thing was more of a control freak issue. Yeah, that's what I think it is. Ardent. Yeah, having shut the F up money would be nice. Oh, it would be great. You know, until you went crazy. Groovy Graveyard. I think I like celebrities more when I only saw them on Johnny Carson. Yeah, and Johnny Carson was like that too. You didn't know what the heck really he knew or thought about politics. Ardent at Alex Ogle. TSK. Alex Ogle. Damn it, foiled again. I'll get you next time. I'll get you, Gadget, next time. Oh man, losing my voice. Okay. Yeah, so for those of you who haven't been to Blue Sky, I'll show you a little. Yeah, this is Blue Sky. So it's just like Twitter. I believe Jack, who invented Twitter, reinvented this. So this is my account. And you can't do as many cool stuff. I mean, oh, wait, let me see my profile. Oh, wait. No, I do have a background. So I'm just doing Piney stuff. And most of the people following me fled X and followed me on X. They just don't pay attention to my tweets, I think. So I don't think they know my politics. I think a lot of people are that way with me. I think one of the reasons I've flown under the radar in so many places, I think most people just don't pay attention to me. And they don't read my stuff, so at least the lefties don't. So that is Blue Sky. Okay, where was I now? All right, Mark Hamill. Here's the weekend briefing from Fandom Posts. This was news. Elon Musk adds Twitch to GARM lawsuit over alleged advertiser conspiracy to boycott and take X down. So this is going to be very interesting because Elon has the money to run these lawsuits forever if he wants. So it's just a matter of time before some of these organizations just say uncle because, you know, unless the judge throws it out, they're screwed. LeMay, if you don't like my politics, don't read my books. My comic books, I believe she said. That's, what's her face? Kelly Sue DeConnick. Oh, what an insufferable person I think she is. Kelly Sue DeConnick. Oh, my God. That is a horrific... I won't even show you the clip because you'll have nightmares. Speaking of nightmares in comics, comic industry expert Thinking Critical accuses DC Comics of hiring Marvel's sloppy seconds with Dan Slott Superman announcement. Yeah, I don't know how this guy keeps failing up the ladder in comics, other than, I guess, you know, it's like, I forget who originally said it, but the comic books are a perfect ESG engine, in environmental social governance points, because for some reason, even now, comic books get all kinds of coverage, even though they're not getting any sales. I mean, literally, I go to comic book conventions every month, and no one, and I mean no one, is talking about the new comics. Like, they're going to buy them anyway. They might mention them like, oh, new comics, ugh. But, like, I go to comic book shows all the time, and no one's there to buy the new books. Like, no one. I have yet to see any. They're giving them away. They'll give them away all day because nobody's buying them. They're all in the quarter bins. The industry is sad state of affairs. So, yeah, I don't know why you would hire Dan Slott for Superman. I don't know why you would hire him in comics anymore at this point. Ardent, I always get the impression that these insufferable people are actually suffering by being inside their own heads. I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's very true. I think that's just generally true. People on the left. I was on the left many moons ago, and it is because, like, it's like you're trying to be virtuous, but then being virtuous becomes the thing, not the ideas. So it kind of goes hand in hand. It's like you can't discuss your political opinions without proving how virtuous you are too. And then that gets sucked into the argument, and essentially it becomes this weird battle where you're going after someone because they're not as moral or virtuous as you. You know, when you start losing the argument, that becomes the argument. And so a lot of these people, I think, get caught up in that, while at the same time, the business, Hollywood, and the comics, and a lot of other things, you can't leave the left, especially now. Like, once you're in, you kind of got to stay. So I think some of these people are genuinely like, oh, I don't believe this stuff. I'm just here because I have to say this stuff. And then they go too far, and they kind of trap themselves. And it makes them miserable because it's not what they really believe. And they can see the reality changing, but they have no power, they feel, to get out of their political ideology without damaging their career. And the only reason they took a stand was to save their career in some way. Although some of them, I think, are so ruthlessly dedicated to just making money or serving the powers that be that they will just flip-flop the moment, and that moment's coming, the moment they realize, oh, nobody's going to be on the left anymore. Oh, well, now I'm right. Oh, yeah, I hate that stuff. They'll just become anti-woke. And I'm waiting for one of those guys to do that. And I want to see the reaction to the people around them, whether they'll be like, oh, you're anti-woke now. Come to our side. Oh, great. Or whether they'll be like, hold up. We'll see. Indie Phantom left in a corner. Yeah. So Dan Slott writing Superman, but no one's reading Superman these days. Dragon Age the Veilguard critic banned from EA Play for allegedly criticizing EA's partners. This game just looks horrifically bad. Every clip I've seen of it is just woker than the next. Like, where's the game? Where's the fun part where you're like shooting fireballs or something? Like, they never show any of those clips, it seems. New Sci-Fi and Fantasy Book Awards. The Andromeda Awards requires author pronouns to enter, everyone. So, gee, I wonder who's going to win that. Best pronoun for a new novelist goes to Gender Ideologue. Seethe after HBO declares J.K. Rowling has a right to express her personal views. Yeah, this is sort of the one piece of media that's kind of the litmus test for the gender people, the people who are obsessed with this. As long as Harry Potter keeps trudging on ahead, I think a lot of these people will continue to just throw themselves in front of the Harry Potter train and get run over on the tracks, metaphorically speaking. And that'll continue to damage their... uh-oh. I'm getting a message. Is my stream okay? Oh, wait. Someone's asking me about sauce. I'm an expert in cooking sauce. The reason you put a wooden spoon in the sauce is because you don't want to burn it. So put a wooden spoon in the sauce so you don't burn it, and you keep it simmering that way. And it won't stick as much either. Sorry. Any other cooking tips, just ask me. After turning Craven into a mutant, director J.C. Chandor begs moviegoers to give our film a chance. No chance, dude. No chance. You never should have made this Craven movie. I don't know anybody who wants to see this. This is a dumb move. Even if it's good, I don't think people will see it. You should have made... Again, you introduce the villain first, then make the spin-off movie. Like, that would make more sense. Like, if Craven comes into the Spider-Man universe and Spider-Man defeats him or whatever, and it's a good Spider-Man movie, then, Craven getting out of jail, maybe that is worth something to people. But you're going to start the movie first. But look at Venom. So you've done 3 Venom movies. When is he going to fight Tom Hardy? Should have been the other way around. Ardent. For the purpose of entering the Andromeda Awards running, I now identify as a body-positive, neurodivergent, trans-Hindu woman of color with a disability and attraction to Coalanders. JC, I thought Craven came and went already. I guess it has. I did too. We've been talking about this movie forever. Indie Phantom, all good. Yeah, it hasn't. I remember seeing this trailer a long time ago. Russell Crowe's in it for what that's worth. It's just, who cares? Who cares? Who cares about Craven? And I don't think they're going to do him justice anyway. Craven is like the ultimate hunter. I think that they're making him in a mutant. I don't think that's going to work. You got Henry Cavill. Director Chad Stahelski provides new details on the upcoming Highlander film starring Henry Cavill. I don't know about this. I don't think you can get lightning in a bottle twice with this movie, but I don't know. Maybe you can. Ardent, I think the studio was trying to build their own Sinister Six, Mobius, Venom, Craven. Sure, you could do that, but you need to do some of it. I think you need to introduce these characters first in the Spider-Man movies. Like, here's the way I would have done it. Introduce Kraven. Like, he doesn't have to be the main villain, right? You could start the Spider-Man movie, let's say the one with Mysterio, with him fighting Kraven and beating him, right? Like, that's the opening of the movie, let's say. And then he goes off on his own other story where he ends up battling Mysterio. That, to me, would be interesting. It would be like the comic book. And then, you know, Kraven at the end of the movie could meet Michael Keaton's Vulture in jail and like, hey, we got to talk, kind of thing, right? Instead, I don't know what they're doing. Arnett, if the new Highlander works, it's going to need some kind of magic. Oh, there's a rhino in the Kraven movie too. Yeah, I don't think that's going to work either, but we'll see. So, the Henry Cavill movie, I kind of want to support it for Henry because he's a bit based. Seems like a cool guy. But I already seen the Highlander movie. So, I don't know. I don't know what it has to offer other than Henry Cavill doing the same shtick. But maybe there'll be some cool scenes. I don't know. I just kind of think they should have done something different. Like, if you're gonna revise the Highlander movie, you know, maybe just make him a different guy, a different immortal, maybe follow a different thread of immortals. But that kind of reminds the other movie. But that movie got all effed up anyway, so I don't know. I guess a reboot could work if you, but I don't know. We'll see. Indie Phantom, what we don't need is more Highlander. Yeah. I'm more interested in Henry's Warhammer film if that ever comes together, or series, whatever the hell it is. JC, series peaked with Highlander 2: The Quickening. Am I right? I didn't even. The second movie's terrible. I mean, the first movie is it for me. I like the first movie and that's it. The series was watchable, but it was like Highlander Light or something. Ardent, they really better focus on the fight choreography for Highlander. Yeah, JC, he needs to be Scottish because he's the Highlander. Yeah. Alex Ogle, without Clancy Brown as the Kurgan, Highlander will be a waste. Clancy is very good. All right, let's move on to the Hollywood Reporter. Let's see what we got here. More on Gladiator. Everything Ridley Scott says about Gladiator 3. Oh, good. Good. And now what's this one going to be? Gladiator 3 already. He's apparently working on the script already. So goes the rumor. I think he just wants to make money myself. Dana Carvey concedes he can't do Elon Musk very well. God, there's so many articles about SNL sketches. God, I hate them. It's weird Dana Carvey is back on Saturday Night Live. Masters of the Universe, Idris Elba in talks to play Man-at-Arms for Amazon. So there's that. I don't know. I mean, I really have no interest in any more Masters of the Universe stuff. You want to talk about an IP they're just beaten to death. The Masters of the Universe. Ardent, Gladiator 3, Mulan returns. Let's see. That's about it. I mean, there's nothing going on in Hollywood. Nothing going on. Bounding in the comics. After ADL accuses Steam of being rife with extremism and anti-Semitism, U.S. Senator demands Valve take action or face more intense scrutiny from the federal government. Good news, everybody. Congress is focusing on video games. Yes, with all the problems in the world, don't worry. Congress is going to fix the video game industry. And you know they will, because they have such an amazing track record for doing so. Like, remember back in the 50s when they had the juvenile delinquent hearings on comic books? Oh boy, that sure fixed the comic book industry, didn't it? Ardent, He-Man is dead and Kevin Smith drowned it in his tears. Wah, wah. Storebang, you're so right about lightning in a bottle twice, especially when you're a Frenchman playing a Scot and a Scot playing a Spaniard. Yeah, that's the original Highlander. So you got I think he's Belgian actually, right? He's from Belgium, right? What's his face? Original Highlander, I'll call him. Christopher Lambert. Yeah, Christopher Lambert, I think he's from Belgium. And then his mentor is Sean Connery, who is Scottish. Right? He's Scottish? I think he is. But yeah, don't worry. The federal government will fix everything. Because you know how senators and congressmen play video games all day, right? Oh, they understand it perfectly well. You know, no one understands video games better than 70, 80-year-old men. Oh, yeah. Oh, they know video games. Ardent, a Scot playing an Egyptian with Spanish name, and yeah, Lambert is Belgian. So, you know, and to attack anti-Semitism and extremism, you know you got to go to video games. Oh, that's the epicenter, right? Yeah, no, it's not college campuses that have torn themselves apart over a certain issue in the Middle East. No, it's obviously the video games that are the problem. Unbelievable. This is what's the name? The 50s again. The juvenile delinquency here is all again. But, you know, this is what happens. The congressmen will say anything to deflect blame from all the crap they're not doing to make the country nice. Oh, and then here's this. The race swap of the year goes to How to Train Your Dragon live action movie, which is so friggin' unnecessary, it's unbelievable. And the director defends it by saying, we're not making a shot-for-shot remake, but it takes place in a Nordic area of the world, I think. Yeah, you know, a place in time when kingdoms were full of people who never traveled more than a few miles from their house. So, yeah, this is completely stupid, but I wouldn't see this anyway. I don't know anybody who desperately needs to see a live-action version of a cartoon that already came out, was a hit, and they made a bunch of sequels to. This is insanity at its finest. So, yeah, I hope the whole thing's a dumpster fire for you. Craven the Hunter director asked fans to wash away the bad taste of the previous Sony Spider-Man spinoffs and give our film a chance. Well, I have to say, I appreciate his attitude. It's a humble attitude. It makes me feel bad for him. And, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to help him. But good on you for not attacking the fans yet. Ardent, the implication of a black girl in a Viking village. Oof, that's worse than the Second Age. I don't know if I should say that word. It's on the YouTube chat, so I assume it's okay, but I'll just say disaster. Oh, and here's another. Speaking of disaster, Captain America Brave New World star Anthony Mackie says Sam Wilson is different from Steve Rogers because he uses more of his wit than his fist. He's more of a friend to everyone. That ain't going to help your movie either, Anthony Mackie. Sad to say. They've gone into reshoots at least 4 times, possibly 5, as recently as a few weeks ago. It's just amazing that they can't make a movie based on Captain America when you've already made Captain America movies and you literally have hundreds and hundreds of comics full of Captain America stories. Like, it's amazing you can't do it. Like, what is the process here? What are they doing when they sit around and talk about the movie they're going to make? Like, how can we do a movie about Captain America and piss everybody off? Like, and the weird thing is, I think it all stems from the scrapbooking aspect of them shooting movies like this, where they're shooting scenes, extra scenes over and over again, and they don't even need them, but they figure they'll cobble together the movie later. Just is the terrible, to me, it's the worst possible way you could shoot a movie. You need to just have a script and suss out all the problems before you even shoot it. Groovy Graveyard. Oh, wait. Ardent. Oh, good move, Mackie. Talk down the predecessor, you dolt. Groovy Graveyard. Black Falcon was never a super soldier. It should be Bucky. Yeah. And I think that's the way it went in the comics first, right? Or give him the super soldier serum. It's the MCU. You could do it. You could come up with a way, but it's Marvel. It's the MCU. It's Disney. I think this is going to be bad. Just because they keep reshoots. No. I don't think they know what they're doing anymore. And part of the problem is, even when you're rewriting a script, you can rewrite it to the point at which you don't know what to do anymore. You know? You get past the 3rd or 4th draft, you just kind of throw up your hands in the air. I worked on a film where I think I did 11 drafts of the screenplay. At that point, I just didn't care. I just said, whatever you want, man. Just make this end. Just make this process end. That's what I said to the producer. I'm just like, okay, whatever your idea is, I'm going to put in the script. I'm out of ideas. After 11 drafts, there's not much I could do. Ardent, I'm just glad they didn't cast Rick Ross as the Red Hulk. Was he even in the movies? Is Rick even in the movies? Oh, Rick Ross. Oh, you're making it. I thought you meant Rick, like the other Rick. What's the name? His sidekick. You mean Rick Ross, the movie or the record producer? Ah, sorry. It's hard to get jokes in chat. It really is. Let's see. Covered that. More on fans waiting for George R.R. Martin to finish a book. The man could live to be 100 and we still won't get the books, is the quote. Rick Jones. Yes, thank you, Ardent. All right, moving on to Deadline. I'm losing my voice, so we're going to have to start to wrap up at some point. Let's see. Pamela Anderson is doing a movie called The Last Showgirl. And part of her shtick is she likes to be without makeup now. Which, I don't know. I mean, in The Last Showgirl, I saw the trailer. She's wearing makeup in the trailer. And then sometimes not wearing it. It's like she's trying to get people used to her face without makeup. Which isn't a bad strategy. And she's trying to do a serious actress thing. This is a role that's right for her. I'll say that. I mean, she could do a showgirl, I think. An aging showgirl. Yeah, I think I could see her in it, at least. Can she pull off the acting chops? Maybe. I mean, she seems determined to do it. I would give her a chance, but we'll see. Ardent, Martin was not going to finish that series. Yeah. Indie Phantom. Was that the horror movie script? Horror movie script. The Last Showgirl is not a horror movie, if that's the one you're referring to. Quinta Brunson and Rob McElhenney pull for hometown Eagles in Sunday Night Football promo ahead of Abbott Elementary and It's Always Sunny crossover. Oh my God, they're having a crossover with Abbott Elementary? Is that show appropriate to cross over with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? That's weird. I don't know. I never watched Abbott Elementary, so I've never seen it. Is that a kind of a dirty show? Because It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia used to be pretty damn dirty and mean, but I don't know. I haven't seen it recently, so since I stopped watching TV. Indie Phantom, we already know the ending of Game of Thrones sucks, George. Yeah, it's almost pointless for him to finish the books now. Maybe that's why he can't motivate himself to do it. I mean, I assume his ending will be different, and it couldn't help but be better, but maybe he doesn't want to waste his time. Let's see. Crazy Rich Asian sequel update? No thanks. I think that's about it. Michael Viella dies. The Slumber Party Massacre actor was 84. Okay. I vaguely remember that movie. I think I knew somebody who worked on it. Okay, here we go. Bleeding Fool. Ellen DeGeneres fleeing U.S. to England over Donald Trump victory. And she took her wife with her. And there's already been photos of her. She's not dyeing her hair anymore. And I guess she's essentially retired. But I'll give it to her. She at least put her money where her mouth is. She said she was going to leave, and she left. Now, the rest of the celebrities who said they were going to leave, get the hell out. Go ahead and leave. You said you were going to do it. Go do it. Go pay taxes in Europe. I bet you'll be back in a week. Go ahead and pay 40% of your taxes over there in Europe. I bet your money doesn't come with you. I bet Ellen's money is back in the good old US of A. But we'll see. We'll see. Martin never should have agreed to an adaptation until the series was finished. I suspect that's what Jim Butcher is doing with the Dresden Files after the abomination of a TV series they made. Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't agree to it. I mean, I'd be like, no, just stop shooting them for a while. Let me write the damn books. And then I would actually write them. But, it's easy for me to say that. I'm not under these pressures or whatever. But it seems to me George R.R. Martin is enjoying his money. I can't blame the guy. He probably labored in obscurity for most of his life. And now he's got so much money he doesn't even know what to do with it all, I guess. I've heard he's bought all kinds of crazy things. Like he bought this bowling alley and turned it into, I don't know if he did or other artists turned it into an art installation where it's like, I don't think it functions as a bowling alley anymore. It's like this weird art thing you walk through and then they show movies and stuff. Or maybe it's a theater. I thought it was a bowling alley or a theater. I don't remember. But I can't imagine having that kind of money. Ardent, now that's a vehicle for Sydney Sweeney. She'd be excellent sex vampire in the Dresden Files. Yes. They waved a monstrous bag of money in. Way ahead of you, buddy. I did go to Canada back in the day when I had, and this was true, I had a Canadian girlfriend for a while. And I did visit Toronto. That was, I think that was pre-Trudeau. Because that would have been the early 2000s. I think that's before Trudeau took over. It was nice. It was really nice. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. We were on the subway in Canada going to the movies or something. And the girl who I'd gone to see, she liked to get really, really high all the time. So she got like friggin' blasted. And we got on the subway. Now, I didn't know my way around, so I was just following her. And so I followed her off the train after we got on. And we emerged from the train, and she was like, and she's really high at this point. She's like, oh my God, we got off the wrong stop. We got off at the really bad neighborhood. And I looked around, and there wasn't any trash. It was very clean. There was nobody selling drugs. There were no abandoned cars. It looked fine. And I'm like, this is the worst neighborhood in Toronto? She's like, yeah, I'm really scared. I'm like, of what? I said, there are flowers over there. And we just walked. I said, let's just walk. I'll protect you. I'm from New Jersey. That was my shtick. I'm from New Jersey. I can handle myself in Canada. I don't think the Canucks are going to bother me. They'll assume I have many guns. And we just walked, and it was fine. Ardent, LOL, a Canadian girlfriend, huh? We totally believe you. I did! Indie Phantom, pre-Trudeau was nice. I assume, yeah. Well, yeah, it was. Ardent, oh, that's probably Creighton/Martin Prime Minister period. Yeah, I think it was. I mean, I don't know the Prime Ministers, but I think it was pre-Trudeau. Or before Trudeau's damage sort of trickled down. Alex, I wasn't long in Canada when the locals voted Harper out for Trudeau. I couldn't believe Canadians could be that stupid. Well, I mean, I can't really throw shade. I mean, somehow Joe Biden got in, but I think he got in completely legally. I mean, I've heard other people say a certain election was rigged, and I believe about that election, but I can't say anything about the 2020 election on YouTube. Oh, but I'm sure the 2024 election is the topic of many conversations on here. Anyhow. Young gamers can now make a deal with the devil in Fortnite. Okay, good to know. I never liked Fortnite. I don't like the game. It's like, are you building things or are you shooting people? Like, why is it like you're playing the game and then suddenly there's a shed in front of the guy you're about to shoot? It's like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And then he just builds it to the sky and you're like, okay, I guess we're not going to have a shootout. Oh no, you have to learn how to build sheds all over the place in Fallout. And it's just constant building and shooting. It's bizarre to me. Just bizarre. I liked it when games were like, oh, there's trees and rocks to hide behind. You can hide behind that. No, you can take a pickaxe and eliminate the rocks and the trees and build yourself a cabin. And then, you know, they have to shoot through the cabin to get to you. It's ridiculous. Ardent, right, Alex? I mean, I screwed up by voting for Mulcair's NDP. That's, Alex, that said, I came from the UK where Blair had been in power. Yeah, we've all voted for somebody stupid. Although I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I did vote for Gary Johnson. Which, in hindsight, sure, I probably should have voted for Trump, but, you know, I'm a libertarian. I thought Gary would do a good job. I didn't realize Trump would do what he did. So, whatever. I mean, people vote for who they think is good. It's sad. Let's see. Oh, Skybound and Image. Now, this is the only interesting thing going on in comics these days. They're doing an Energon Universe special for Free Comic Book Day. And for those of you who don't know, the Energon Universe is G.I. Joe and the, what's the name? The Transformers together. So this is like one of the few hot things in comics. Although nobody mentioned it at the comic show I was doing, but I've heard some buzz online about this. So this has an audience. So Image still doing something. Alex at Arden, wash your mouth out with pineapple on pizza. Damn you! Voting NDP is basically saying you're communist. Ardent, oh, that old school comics comeback article reminds me. I have a new piece of merch on Redbubble. Would you mind if I posted the link? Not at all. Go knock yourself out. More woke stuff coming out from Disney. Blah, blah, blah. LeMay, there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and Naruto crossover. Oh, I didn't see that. Where was that? I didn't see that article this week. That should have been big. That should have been big. All right, checking the wrap. Probably nothing here. Bunch of political stuff that doesn't belong in the wrap. The wrap. It's supposed to be about movies, and you're talking about Amy Klobuchar and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Neil deGrasse Tyson took it on the chin this week. Bill Maher called him out. There's no article here on it, but Bill Maher friggin' wrecked him on an episode of his show. And Neil deGrasse Tyson has kind of been coasting on, I don't know, his image as a scientist when he doesn't seem to be able, I'll say, to define a woman, if you know what I'm saying. On that score, he seems to have dove into the deep end of the woke pool, and now he's trying to defend his scientific bona fides, and nobody believes him. And Bill Maher like friggin' wrecked him. If you get a chance to search for it, it was pretty funny. If you want to see Neil deGrasse Tyson wish he had shut up. All right. Superman trailer release. Mark your calendars for Christmas, according to this. So, finally, the Superman movie's coming out. God, I'm so sick of hearing about it, but... Ardent at Alex. Olga, yes. I got better without torturing myself with heretical Canadian dishes pretending to be Hawaiian sacrileges of Italian food. Alex, Neil deGrasse Tyson can be lumped in with Bill Nye. Yeah, another guy. I never put any stock in Bill Nye, though, because he was like the host of some kid's science show. Like, who cares? I assumed he had a little bit of scientific bona fides, but not many. Like, Bill Nye has contradicted himself. He said stuff on his own show that he now seems to contradict. Neil deGrasse Tyson was always a guy who, I don't know, he seemed like the impression he gave was like, oh, we got this guy out of some NASA observatory, and he knows what he's talking about. Here he is. And now, like, that, to me, that's completely gone. That whole facade of an image is, like, dead for him. Okay, so here is Ardent's link. His Ardent's new merch, The Noticer, an old school pulp hero for the woke era. All right, so The Noticer. So you notice things. Previews of this item are not visible because mature content has been hidden. Oh, I probably can't show that then. Sorry. So does The Noticer have his junk out or what, dude? Amanda, welcome. Amanda Navarrete. Hey, welcome to the stream, Amanda. Ardent says hello. You just caught the tail end of it. You can go back and watch the beginning. Amanda, I'm new. What is this about? Well, we talk about movies and the box office, and we go through the trades and talk about the interesting things that happen during the week in the movie industry primarily, but we get into comics and television too. Yeah, sometimes my cute dog is in the stream. Let me see if I can find her. No, she's asleep. I don't want to bother her right now. But she was in the beginning of the stream. You could see her. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Ardent, don't show it on your stream. It's got a bad word for the practice of pride people in it. Oh, okay. Amanda, ooh, thank you for answering. No problem. All right. The Conjuring Last Rites wraps marking an end of an era. Wow, this franchise has been going on forever. How many did they make of these? 4, I think? Let's see. To the IMDb. So the first one, The Conjuring. Okay. And then The Conjuring 2. Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It. So let's see if they'll just show me the list here. Yeah, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so 4 altogether. Looks like. None of these other Conjuring movies are part of the deal. So that's not a bad run. 4. I'm glad they're ending it finally. I mean, I didn't see it, but I mean, you could only go so long, right? I'll tell you though, what's his name? Patrick, what the hell's his name? Patrick Wilson. He is very good in Bone Tomahawk. If you haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, it's a friggin' grueling movie, but it's good. He's really good in it. All right, let's see. Don't know what that is. Elon Musk becomes Irony Man to fight villains. References Iron Man and the Joker. Okay. So now we're covering tweets on Cosmic Book News. Okay, Superman trailer coming for Christmas. More on Henry Cavill and Craven we talked about. Don't care about Suits. Talked about He-Man. Did Sony tease Tom Hardy as Venom for Spider-Man 4? No. Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I heard. Ardent. Apparently Annabelle is part of the Conjuring universe as a prequel with a prequel of his own. Oh. So maybe we got 6 then. And Marvel's Young Avengers, I don't think anybody cares about that. So Annabelle's part of the deal, huh? Annabelle. Yeah, it was 2014. So an Annabella creation. That's probably the prequel there. So really, you got 6 movies. Man. LeMay, this is a book question. What do you think about the cozy fantasy genre that is becoming popular? Well, in general, I would say there's a lot of friggin' fantasy books out. And in general, the problem with the book publishing industry, I think it's a bigger problem of the book publishing industry than any particular trend right now. The wider book publishing industry just is a disaster, in my view. It's kind of fallen apart because self-publishing, like self-publishing comics and doing like crowdfunding, seems to be the way to go for new talent. Like, there's no point in banging your head against the wall, submitting books, because it's unlikely a publisher is going to come to you. It's like it was unlikely before, but it's super unlikely now that a publisher is just going to rain down money on you. It's like winning the lottery and being struck by lightning and hit by a meteor all at the same time at this point. So what I think book publishers will do, or are doing now, for a while they were looking at social media following, which was a disaster, especially in comic books. They figured like, oh, well, you got a big social media following, therefore your book will sell to all your followers. That absolutely did not transfer in Twitter. It does transfer somewhat in YouTube, but not Twitter. Like Twitter, it's a joke, or at least old Twitter was. New Twitter maybe is slightly different, but in that area. But yeah, it wasn't going to transfer. But the crowdfunding, along with the social media, is you do have people out there that are doing books like me and like other people. They're doing stuff on Amazon, and they're selling books. So it doesn't make any sense for a publisher to really go after new talent. They just don't do it. What does make sense is for them to look on the internet and see, guys who are making inroads and have a following already, and then offering them contracts. Because what you can do, so for instance, they make these Star Trek novels, right? And they all take place in the Star Trek universe or whatever, or they used to. I don't know what they're doing now. But the smart thing to do, if your sales are starting to slump in that area, would be to find some up-and-coming guy doing his own novels, his own sci-fi novels, and he's got a big enough following that he's doing it on his own, to offer him a contract, bring him on to your stable of writers, and then hopefully drag in his fans, which would hopefully be new fans to the book. And so when it comes to all this cozy fantasy stuff, it kind of doesn't matter. It's like, if there's an audience for it, sure, publish it. But is it really fantasy? I don't know. I'm not sure what you totally mean by a cozy fantasy. Let me see. Let me see what it says on the internet about this. Cozy fantasy. Yeah, see here, it's already a subgenre in Goodreads. Yeah, it's a cozy fantasy definition. There we go. There we go. Cozy fantasy is a subgenre everyone seems to be talking about. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, just tell me what it is. Or somebody on the street can tell me what cozy fantasy really is. Oh, it features romance. Okay. Romance. It's just basically a romance. It's just a fantasy romance. That's all. I mean, it's aimed at women. It's soft fantasy. Again, they're doing the same thing they always have done. Book publishing leaned into the female audience about 30 years ago and never came back. They just never came back. Ardent. Oh, nice. Abigail is free on Prime. Just had a look at cozy fantasy. It sounds like it's designed for women. Yeah. Alex Ogle. Cozy? How can you North Americans misspell a word so simple? LeMay. Slice of life fantasy. Okay, so maybe it's slightly more like that, but with some romance in it. Ardent. They often include elements of mystery, romance, quirky humor, and lack of explicit violence or mature content. From Firefox definitions. Yeah, I mean, it's again, they keep marketing books towards women, and there's nothing wrong with that, except they do so by ignoring the men a lot of times. And because of that, a lot of book publishers are like, why can't we get men to read our books? They don't read your books because you don't market them correctly, and you don't make them towards men. You have to do both. I mean, if you're a book publisher, you should be doing both. Yeah, you could do cozy fantasy. You could also do, sword and sorcery and lowbrow fantasy and whatever kind of fantasy you want. Fantasy where guys get stabbed through the face. I mean, it doesn't have to be too graphic, but it, should have a bit of an edge to it. People like that stuff too. Otherwise, all you're doing is marketing the books to the same people over and over again. I mean, it sounds to me that cozy fantasy is kind of close to the YA stuff to some degree, and that's also beaten to death. Ardent at Alex Ogle. LOL. Don't get defensive. Indie Phantom. Gotta pass out next time, kids. I'll see ya. I'm gonna wrap up anyway. Ardent. Sorry. Defensive with a C. Alex at Ardent. Ha ha ha. This is the correct spelling though. For when I take offense. Ardent, later, Indy. Yeah, we're going to wrap it here. So, they're just going to beat it to death like they do everything else. If you're going to be a publisher and have real money, your only thing to offer authors is the money and the exposure they would get. And what you need is to have a library of books that appeal to a broad spectrum of audience, men and women. But if you just lean into the women, then you're kind of limiting your audience potential. Initially, what you want is at the top, you want your books that appeal to both men and women, that appeal to everybody, and then you want to start specializing as you sort of go down, the tiers. So your top books should be broad spectrum sort of stuff, and then the next tier should be, you got books for men and women. But right now nobody's really publishing books for men because they've been so out of reading books, they don't want to read them. I mean, I try to market my books to men, and it's really hard to get them to read it because they say, I don't really read, dude. Bro, I don't read. But they would like my books because there's a lot of action in it. And women like my books too, but, you have to market to everybody. Arden, today we learned that we will always find a way to talk about Sydney Sweeney. Yes. This is how we wrap the show, by the way, Amanda. We talk about what we learned today. Alex, leaning into women sounds a little like the title of a movie with Sydney Sweeney. Once again, Alex, you got beaten to the punch on your Sydney Sweeney references. You're just going to get beat all day today. It's a shame. Next week, I expect you to come right out the gate with Sydney Sweeney. Like, right out the gate. Don't wait. Don't sleep on Sydney Sweeney, Alex. Do not sleep on Sydney Sweeney. I expect a pitch next week about Sydney Sweeney opening a business where she sells pineapple on pizza. I'll be against it, but I'll expect it. Also, I have to do a video talking about comedy for Indie, which I'll have to do. I'm not sure when. What else? What else did we learn today? What the hell did we talk about? We talked about so many things. We talked about, we saw a clip from the anti-gravity room. We talked about that. And I talked about how my hair was dyed back then, before I gave it up and started going gray, gracefully. Ardent, don't make him mad, Tony. He'll turn a strange color if you make him mad. Make him feel offense. And we talked about the box office, and we talked about a lot of different movies. Man, we talked about so much stuff today. Yes, so this is what we do on the live stream, where we do it live. LeMay, we learned that Gladiator 2 did better overseas. Yes, we did. And that Wicked made a lot of money, an S-ton of money. Alex, damn it, I'll get you to say pineapple belongs on pizza. Yes, damn it. Tony D, out of context. Ardent, we learned that historical anachronism in movies and TV makes things memorable in all the wrong ways. Yes, it did. Yeah, we talked about Denzel Washington in Gladiator and him kissing a dude, possibly. That was a lie, but we don't know. We don't know because Hollywood says a lot of things. We learned the box office was over 200 million this week. That's pretty damn good. But next week, I don't know what's opening. I don't know what you go to see on Thanksgiving weekend. I guess I would be stuck seeing Gladiator. That would be like my only choice on this list. But even that, I don't want to pay for. But anyhow, thank you all for tuning in on your way out. Give me a like if you like. Alex Ogle, there it is, the clip for the ages. It'll be on Lotus Eater soon. Damn you, Alex. Tricked me again. Ardent, LOL. So thanks for everybody who tuning in. We had a lot of new people this week. So hopefully you'll come back next week. What's next week? Next week I will be on time. I will be at Triple Oaks Nursery. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's saying 11 to 4. All 3 days? Is that right? I think it's right. So that's going to be my Black Friday. Hopefully selling a ton of Pineys books. Ardent, I might have to start watching TLE again. Alex, have a great week, Tony, and everyone. Have a great week to you all. Joan says, bark. And we are out of here. Right, little Joan? Bark. Yes. Yes, she's right. See you in the next one. All right.